Good morning, everyone. For December 1st, I'm going to say Happy Christmas and Merry New Year. You're tuned into the Theist Helpline. This is our final show for the year for 2024. I'm just going to start with some introductions here about your friendly and helpful hosts of the Theist Helpline in alphabetical order, who are Amy Newman, who is known for her trademark slogan, Sending Love, is a professional comedian and skeptic who hosts debates, interviews, and conversations on her YouTube channel. She also creates educational and other important content. IX is a Tom and Boxes subscriber and former atheist community of discorded men who enjoys long walks through evolutionary biology inspired computer science, archaeological academic biblical criticism, and so on. Jefferson Spatchcock is an atheist inquisitor and intellectual who has particular expertise in thoroughly analyzing and reviewing debates, often from the comfort of his genuine lazy-boy chair. Planet Peterson is a well-known author, educator, science communicator, and debater. Evolution and young Earth creationism, but are but two of his many specialties. I'm Randolf Richardson. I'm an atheist activist from British Columbia, Canada. I advocate for the equality and normalization of people who don't believe in deities, which entails advocating for fair justice, freedom, and critical thinking. I'm also the founding president of the Canadian Atheists, the national organization that promotes atheism and agnosticism as culturally common aspects of Canadian society. Tacos, the visionary organizer of the Theist Helpline, is the premier atheist presuppositional apologist, Pope of Evidism, and according to him, a really bad philosopher. I disagree with him on that, but that's he knows that. TJump, Tom Jump, is the founder of an atheist church called the Church of the Best Possible World, which is based on his model of objective morality. It has the goal of doing what Abrahamic churches should be doing but are not, helping people by providing affordable housing. Mobarak has been with us before. You're back. I'm sorry, I don't have a description here for some reason. Let me see if I have it on an older piece. Nope, I don't have it there either. How is everybody today? And does anybody have anything new they'd like to share?
Yes,
You're
Mubarak
opening
is
already because I had to go. My headset wasn't working at all.
Oh yeah, because we
I
opened it.
haven't even launched it yet.
Oh,
Oh, I
please,
guess you did shit. Yeah, I was having issues there. Sorry.
that's okay. Please go ahead and launch it. It's already started, and
I guess you launched it.
we're actually live. So
Cool. Perfect. Sorry about that.
no problem. That's fine. So we just read the introductions. So Mobarak, you were about to say.
Yeah, I had a weird conversation with a Jewish person from the Middle East who is not traditionally rabbinic Judaism. I forgot the name of his sect, you could call it, or whatever. He was advocating for a traditional society based on traditions from Middle Ages and
Hey,
beyond.
Randolph, you broke the event. I need a. By doing what you did, you broke the event. So I have to close out the stage and relaunch it.
That's okay. We can wait. Everybody who's on our live stream, just give us a moment. We will be right back.
Without the acknowledgement that tradition is changing. So
Oh, I'm sorry.
He
You know,
was,
can you hold that thought? For some reason, switching all this around changed something here on Discord, and I have to reconnect something. My apologies. Welcome
yeah,
back, everybody. Sorry about the technical outage. We are continuing. Carry on, Mobarak.
yeah, this person was okay with basically traditional society, and when I asked him about discrimination based on uh race, gender, sex, religion, etc., he was okay with it as long as it's traditional. So if it's a tradition to discriminate against minority, then we keep the tradition discriminating against minority. Knowing the fact that this guy is Jewish from Jewish ancestry, and I was like, that's exactly the same thought and process almost all people who have committed programs in Europe and in the world thought about it. It's okay to discriminate against Jews because they are tradition to discriminate against them, and he didn't want to acknowledge it. He just shut down, and he doesn't want to acknowledge it. Um, it's odd to see someone who is from a minority group in a place where advocating for discrimination. I don't think I ever heard that before.
You know, it's interesting. I'm noticing gradually in recent years that people's positions are starting to become more sophisticated, and sometimes the sophistication includes contradictions. It's almost like some people have forgotten which side they're on. I'm hoping things will kind of even out, and more people will start becoming more open to being a little bit more accepting of the fact that people are different.
And
Yeah.
There's more variety in the world.
I could give some explanation of that is because when they say traditional, they mean traditional to my religion, insert here. And so if you bring up another tradition or another time, even if it's an older time where they're more accepting of LGBTQ people or minorities or women, they'll go, yeah, but that wasn't the real traditional. And so they have this very fundamentalist outlook, and I continue to say it is that kind of morality and viewpoint that we're kind of fighting against because of how, they will hold on to something for 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 years old, whether that is, once again, not looking kindly on LGBTs or minorities or women.
Yeah, just so people know, Taco's running into some technical issues with his audio, so he's working on that. He may pop in and out a bit until he gets it sorted out. His audio was working earlier, so hopefully he can get back to that state. So that's fine. I hope he gets it resolved soon. We do have people who are already tuned into our YouTube audience, and one person, Organic Perception, hello, has commented in regard to something I said. He's saying, he or she is saying, more sophisticated in their cognitive dissonance. There's a bit of sarcasm there, indeed. And yes, there is that too, in fact, it seems. So I notice that there are people who are calling themselves secular Christians. And this is kind of new. That I never heard in the 90s, but I'm certainly hearing it from time to time now, and all sorts of different things. So, anyway, excuse me. Apparently Taco can't even hear us. It keeps cutting out. He's not really sure what's going on. Thank you, everybody in our audience, for joining us. Did anybody have anything that they would like to ask us about? I just got to. Yes, we have one person wants to join, the Cay. I hope I'm pronouncing their name properly. I'll give it a try here. We've invited you up. Welcome, the K. They haven't come up. That was Taco. Yeah, we can't hear Taco. The K, welcome. Thank you for joining us. The K King, is that what your name is with the emoji? Hello, the K King. Welcome. How are you? Can you hear us?
Trying to see if the server muted. No, they are not.
Yeah, I just checked on that too. The K King. I hope I've got your name right. We're not able to hear you. Did you want to quickly check your microphone input? See where it's going. It should be coming from your microphone. I gotta write a message to Taco here, but I gotta keep our audience happy here. One person in our YouTube audience, Clinton Roush, has made a comment. When you believe a lie, lying to yourself and others is your life now. That's pretty harsh criticism, but I think there's quite a bit of truth to it for a lot of people. People get caught into all sorts of things. Cults aren't the only thing, religious cults, but there's also like multi-level marketing pyramid schemes and other kinds of scams. And it's amazing that people can get so engulfed in these things. Shane Billowitz, haven't seen you around for a while. Thank you for joining in, man. It's great to see you here. For tuning in. He's written, smart people are good and coming up with ways to rationalize their unsupported beliefs. Yeah, that's an interesting aspect too, because people are, they start to try to rationalize and justify what they're believing. It's like the ego's kind of interfering a bit there, and people, I think, are very clever and very smart at figuring things out. And then a lot of the education systems, unfortunately, don't do as well as I think they could or should in teaching critical thinking. And there are some times that happens with some of these religious schools, not all, but some of them even teach a kind of modified version of critical thinking, which says there are exceptions to everything, and God is one such exception. And they teach people this when they're very young, and then people grow up on this, and they're very intelligent people. And yet they sometimes hold these kinds of beliefs. And I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on this.
It's helpful to point to a question that a person can more easily contemplate within two competing, slightly different positions, both of which they're somewhat receptive to. How are they going to discern between those? And so rather than starting out with, here's why I think you should critical think and consider abandoning your entire worldview or a major component of it, instead to say like, okay, well, what if you have two slightly different theological positions amongst fellow Christians of the same denomination? What are your tools going to be to critically analyze and find errors within one position or the other? Now, if they're only going to do so within a kind of like, well, I would ask my leader what my leader says to do, that doesn't really address it. That's just saying they would essentially outsource the decision-making process to an authority, which if they're Catholic or whatever, that might be a very appealing part of why they like being Catholic, because that's one of the ideas is that the church provides that central kind of adjudication service, that the Protestants have so many different versions of Protestantism, partly because they don't have that. But it's worth asking, say, hey, how are you going to tell between two different theistic positions or two different theological positions? And if you can get them to talk about what methods of critical analysis they can use in a context that's not scary to them, then it's a little bit easier to segue into the idea that they should work on their epistemology. In other words, their methods of eliminating errors and determining what's most likely true in general, without it being just like oh, you should consider abandoning your religion 100%. Because what may happen, it's kind of like the backlash against anything. If you bundle the concept of critical thinking to the concept of like heresy or atheism or apostasy or whatever, then they may just say, you know what, I just don't think I'll do any of that critical analysis or critical thinking. I think I'm just going to sit tight where I'm safe and all my family will accept me and my community will accept me. It's way safer here, as opposed to, no, this is a tool, even if you stay religious, to be a better and more informed religious person as well. And that's kind of where the appeal of things like street epistemology come in, is that even though it's often introduced to people in the context of like arguing about one of their beliefs, it ends up being kind of popular with people that get to know it, even when they've been challenged using it. They think, I can actually use this. This will help me talk to people at the Thanksgiving or the Christmas dinner table that, tend to get into arguments, or whatever in their family. These are tools for life that happen to be useful for like very intense religious questions, but are also a tool that I would hope we can teach everyone and not just present them as like the tool of the atheist.
If I could actually just say something good and then about what Ix just said, and then comment about what you said, Randolph, on our school system. But that's why when we speak about evolution, it's so important to not tie it to atheism, because if you make it a religion versus atheism when it comes to biology, well, then they're always going to take their creationism text. And so it's important to basically say, no, there are theists that accept evolution. There are actually theists that contribute as scientists to biological literature. And so I could not agree more. And then with Randolph, I just wanted to say, unfortunately, you see things like the Texas Board of Education trying to mix Bibles with English education. And so it is both of those things. We need to kind of combat religious education being forced in public schools, and then teach critical thinking to everybody.
Yeah, famous atheist Aaron Raw, I think, has been pushing against the Texas School Board doing things like that, and there's others who contribute to that effort as well. So it's good that there's citizens out there keeping these things in check. Mobarak, you did get kind of started with this stuff, and we've gone off on some tangents here. What are your thoughts on this?
I think that critical thinking is the best tool for people to have in their life, because it just allows you to like refine your position in everything way and shape, no matter what, if you changed it or not. Here's my thought. I don't want the whole world to be atheist or like repute God, but at the same time, I want people to be smarter, that they could make better decisions in their life. And the easiest way to make better decision is to actually have critical thinking and be able to question what you believe and what you think about.
What is your primary concern with everyone being an atheist?
Well, I really don't have a concern about it. Like I see it as something that it might not happen because people have different opinion on everything. So I'm not concerned about it. Like if tomorrow I wake up and everyone is atheist, okay. If I wake up tomorrow and everyone is religious but me, okay. Here the thing is, like, the concept of you don't have atheist to have critical thinking and to be able to think your positions. I want to acknowledge or invoke critical thinking when it comes down to your emotions or your thoughts, but it's up to you. It's your life.
Oh yeah, I agree that everybody should have the choice to decide for themselves. I'm a big fan of people having the information they need to make an informed decision.
Yeah.
And
I
the
agree.
yeah, and the problem very often with the way religions are promoted, and I'm not saying this is inherent to the religions themselves, but the way that they're promoted is that a lot of information is withheld. And Pascal's wager, or Pascal's gambit, as it's supposed to be called, is one really good example of this, I think, because it poses this idea that just believing in God and your outcome after you die will be good. That's what it takes to become a Christian, or whatever religion it's being used with to promote it. But then when a person ends up going for it and deciding to take the wager and join the religion, then they end up finding out that no, there's more than just believing. You have to follow all these traditions and rules and do different things, whatever the religion requires of you. So it's like they're not telling you the full picture. It's almost like false advertising because it didn't start up. So I it's like a trick. That's why it's a wager. The problem with gambling is that the people who gamble they may parrot the phrases saying that the house always wins. It is the house advantage. So watch out when someone brings you any kind of a gambit or a wager or some kind of option to gamble. They're always in the best position, no matter what the outcome is for you. They will always gain somehow. You look at people who host these poker games. The house gets a portion of the winnings, no matter who the winner is in the poker matches. So the people putting out Pascal's wager are usually the people who are benefiting somehow by bringing another member to the church and getting appreciation from their peers, or maybe it's the church putting it forward and they're getting new members, and that brings more money into their coffers and whatnot. So there's that aspect. It's not an honest approach, I think, because there's a gambling aspect. That's always a red flag.
And generally, God would know. I mean, if you're just believing so that you can go to heaven, I mean, I guess he could be that type of God and be like, well, you believed in me anyway, but it seems like a shitty reason to believe in something.
Looks like our guest couldn't get their audio sorted out, so they just quietly left. I was hoping we'd be able to hear from them. Is anybody in the audience? Anything? Sorry, go ahead, Amy.
Well, no, they were detained. I'm not sure. I don't know what that meant 100%, but that might have meant that if it wasn't a mute, that just some reason from the mods or something, they couldn't speak.
Oh, it was a Discord server guild-wide kind of thing. Okay.
Could have been.
Well, we do have somebody else who'd like to join us here, which is wonderful. Going to say we're just bringing them up on stage now. I'm needing their name here. Sticky Fingers, welcome. Thank you for joining us. How are you today?
Good. How are you today, man?
Great. Okay, so we can actually hear you, which is fantastic, because we couldn't hear the other person who was here, unfortunately. So welcome. What's on your mind today?
So you were talking about, now forgive me, right? I don't think I'm as intellectually gifted as all of you, but I will be honest. You were talking about how the house always wins with religion, right? How people get into it not knowing customs and practices.
Okay, so what I was doing was citing an example, a specific one of Pascal's wager, and I was pointing out similarly the house always wins when it comes to gambling. People like hosting a poker house, and I was trying to dissect Pascal's wager or Pascal's gambit in a way. That's one of the techniques that they use. So this, of course, is beneficial to the party that's promoting it usually.
I feel like it would be on people who want to practice the religion to understand what they're getting into, right?
That's what's supposed to happen. And we say the same about consumers in business environments where the consumers should be doing some research on the products they're purchasing. But a lot of the time, people purchase things without doing any research. I purchase things without doing any research.
Is my mic working now?
Yes, Taco. Your microphone is working loud and clear.
Sorry for interrupting.
Great to have you back. Sorry, carry on, Sticky Fingers.
So, have you considered that people might just be lazy? See, I always try to get a good idea of what I'm getting into when I do something. Like yesterday was Black Friday, right? And my friend's like, hey, let's go to the gun store. And I was like, you know what? Sure, let's do it. He did. And I saw revolvers I thought was really cool. Before I bought it, I looked into what it can be chambered in, what it's good for. But I made a decision, you know what? I think I'd like this revolver. So I bought it. I feel like a lot of people don't want to do that. I think a lot of people are just lazy. Now, I know it's a really simple example, right? I went out and bought a product, my money, but I did research behind that product. I feel like religion's the same thing. Like, if you want to practice religion or if you're starting to see things a certain way, then maybe look into what goes into being a member of that faith. Like, I wouldn't be a Muslim because I don't want to give up pork, right? Like,
I think intellectual laziness is a big thing. So I think you nailed it there. There are people who don't want to think. It's painful for some people to think. It seems, but I don't know if that. I don't
Wait a
think it's
minute.
actually painful.
So if Islam was the true fact about reality, and it says you don't want to give up, or it says you have to give up pork, you wouldn't want to give up pork? You
I
still wouldn't
guess
give up
I'm-
pork and be a
I guess
Muslim,
I'm
even though
burning
it
in-
would.
I guess I'm burning in hell.
So just to clarify something, I've looked into this, and Mobarak will correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure because Mobarak actually has some firsthand experience dealing with
Also,
Islam.
Can I interrupt real quick?
Okay,
I was just using Islam as a general example.
yeah, and I'm just going to clarify something about it.
I don't have anything against Islam. Like,
okay, that's fine. So basically, with Islam, when I looked into it, there are certain situations where it's okay to eat pork, such as there's no other option for survival and you need it for survival. Mubarak,
Yeah.
please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But normally, yeah, they forbid eating pork.
so
And
I
can I actually interrupt you, Sticky Fingers? Because I think you have a miscommunication on what the gambling thing is. Like, because when you
that's
say
why I asked for clarification.
yes,
So
when
I feel
you
like, am I
buy the
talking to
gun,
Randolph, or am I talking to everyone here?
I get okay. I mean,
I'm sorry, I'm just a little confused because I feel like Randolph and I are having a pretty good back and forth. So I'm trying to. That's why I asked him to explain to me what's going on. See how it works?
Yeah.
I guess can I at least explain it instead, and then you can just go back.
He was explaining it.
Sticky Fingers, this is a conversation between you and all of us. So what Amy wants to say, I'd like to hear it as well.
Okay, so when you were doing a gamble, you were buying a gun, you were doing some sort of, I guess, protective measure. But when we were trying to talk about the gamble with, when we're trying to say our soul towards heaven or hell, a lot of the times we're saying, well, they're lazy as in they're fearful. They're fearful as in they don't want to go to hell. And so they say, I'm just going to stay in this religion because, well, I'm scared of hell. There's no evidence in either direction. I guess I might as well go with the God one because I have less to lose. It's a better gamble. It's a better bet to bet on heaven than to burn forever.
So just, I don't know. That seems like if they're that scared of going to hell, I feel like that's a personal thing. Like, why is it my fault that these people are scared to death that they're going to go to hell for not believing in like Christ, right? Like, so if they want to blindly follow religion because they're terrified they're going to go to hell, I don't see the issue with it. Like, let them. Like, it's a personal thing, right? Like,
but we want skeptics. That's the whole point. We want people
yeah,
who are rational.
there are skeptics. There's millions of skeptics. You all here are skeptics. Like, I'm agnostic myself, right? Like, I feel like there's plenty of skeptics. Like, you're talking about this like there's no one that's ever challenged religion when there's literally a whole panel of people challenging religion right now, right?
But we're talking about people who unfortunately stay in the religion because they say, hey, I'd make a better bet. I have nothing to lose and just might as well stay in this religion because I am so fearful. And there's a lot of them, unfortunately, in this country, and they vote and
So
make decisions.
I just don't see the issue with that. Like, majority of people are too lazy to go do their own research on something, or they're too scared to challenge their own ideas. Like, that's just the way things are.
It's a social problem.
So, I mean, are you going to go out and tell all these people who are afraid of going to hell, hey, you're wrong. Fuck your religion.
That's what we're here for, baby.
We're literally doing that right now.
That seems a little insulting, don't you think?
Yes.
Or at the very least,
oh, it's not insulting. It's
like,
insulting the religions and telling them that their religions support pedophilia and incest and war and lots of horrible things, right? Like, that's what we're telling them because it's true facts about their religions, right?
So, do you think all Christians support incest, war, and pedophilia, or do you think it's
but
just
their religion does?
So
many self-proclaimed Christians don't actually follow Christianity.
I'm actually really happy that all the religious people I know don't follow their religions 100%. Because that's why I'm still alive today.
And they know no gods exist because they don't follow these religions. They don't follow the guidance in these books. They know no gods exist. The self-evident truth of our shared naturalistic, atheistic reality has been revealed to all of sound mind through both natural and special revelation in an undeniable way. They already know the truth. They just are pretending that this is real because they need evil and whatnot to exist outside of a conceptual nature so they can pretend to be a main character in a cosmic battle of good and evil that's totally imaginary, right?
See, at that point, it just seems pretentious. Like, let people believe in God. Like, if people want to believe in God, it's not really an issue, right? Like, freedom of religion.
Vile, dude.
Sticky fingers.
My mom, wait, can I ask you a question, Taco? Can I use a personal example?
No.
So I can't use
just explain why it's vile. I don't care about your personal example.
No, I'm just gonna ask you. I'm just gonna ask you a question.
And I said no.
So you don't want. So you're saying
no? I'm not going to engage with it because I don't care about your personal example.
No, I'm just gonna ask. Okay, so I'm just gonna say something. You can challenge other people's ideas and the religion they believe in, but God forbid someone challenge your ideas.
I challenge my ideas all the time. I don't care about this.
Well, I'm asking to challenge your ideas. Then what's the point of you up here speaking if you don't believe in a counter argument?
Why would I care about a personal example? You're like, I'm going to present a Gettier case against knowledge. And I'm like, I don't care.
It just seems like you're being really pretentious at this point.
No, I'm not. I have a justified reason not to care, and I just explained it, and you don't understand what I said.
It just seems like such a selfish way to look at things, calling people vile for having faith in something. Like me, I'm personally
not. The religion is vile. The religions are vile.
Or the people, but it seems like you're presuming that the people who practice it are vile, right? Because if something must be so vile.
When did I say some of them are?
Not so. Is it a majority or some of them?
I just said some of them.
See, it feels like your rhetoric, and I even said I agree with you, right? I think some people who practice
you totally agree with me, okay?
Right, but I'm just saying it just seems like kind of a cruel way to look at things is to bash all these people for believing in one thing. Now, do I necessarily agree with Christianity?
I said they all know no gods exist. Nobody's bashing all these people. You're saying it's insult. Okay, shut up.
I think some people genuinely do believe in God.
All right, I'm about to mute you.
Hey guys, I do have a question for Sticky Fingers after this.
Yeah,
send it.
So, oh my fuck, you interrupted me and I forgot what I was going to say there for a second. Bear with me for a moment.
Okay, well, he's gathering his thoughts. What's your question, Richard? Or is it I'm sorry, it's Randolph. I apologize.
Thank you. Oh, I appreciate you got my name.
You are going to submit to us on the panel. You are not taking over this stage. We will approach you and you will wait to be approached.
Well, I'm asking him to say it.
Okay, I'll go ahead with my question. Unless you and Taco need to sort some stuff out first.
Right.
You will wait to be approached, and you will be talked to, and not over-talk your interlocutor and engage like a normal fucking person.
Hey,
now, Randolph, get off the stage. Get off the stage.
No, okay, go ahead, Taco. What was that?
Yeah, that's it. He's too much of a child to engage. Holy shit! He over-talked me when I was when I was engaging with him. Every time I spoke with him. And then I lost my train of thought, so I'm not doing that. So, and then he just did that shit. No, thank you. If anybody else wants to come up and have a normal conversation, you're welcome to. We're not doing this over talking.
Sure, there was something I wanted to finish with him, and I'm hoping to get his perspective on it because he did say something that the interruption stuff I do think is a problem that's kind of common on Discord, unfortunately. He had mentioned something about, and I'll see if I can bring him up on the stage again, if that's okay, just to answer that.
It's fine, but if he overtalks or tries to take over the stage, he's getting kicked off the stage again.
Okay. So, I'll just say he had mentioned...
Sticky, you keep your mouth quiet while other people are talking. You understand me?
Okay, so...
Yeah, he's not coming up because he can't keep his mouth quiet.
Okay. I would like to just... He mentioned something about it's okay for people to be believing these things, and if they're not willing to make the intellectual effort to that, it's almost like it sounded like they deserve to be falling for these kinds of traps and misinformation and getting tricked into joining groups and things. those weren't his exact words, but it is something I would like to hear his response on, some clarification what he meant on that, because I may have misunderstood, and I don't want to mischaracterize his words. I would like to bring him up to just address that, if that's okay.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to come back up, though. He can't keep his mouth quiet while other people are talking.
Okay, let me deal with him. So hi, Sticky Fingers.
Moto Vader, what's up?
Did you hear what I was wondering about what you said?
Ask it again.
Okay, maybe I want to make sure I didn't misunderstand. It sounded like you were saying that if people don't want to do the research into something and they go ahead and join a group, like a religious group for it, or buy some product for it, that's on them. And you are okay with that. Sorry?
Yeah.
Why do you think that that's okay?
Because I'm not a moral police, and to some people, ignorance is bliss. Like, okay, so my mom has been practicing Christianity her whole life. He and my dad have constant discussions about it because he's agnostic like me, right? They constantly discuss things about it. Is she the most well-informed Christian? No, I don't think so. I actually think I'm more well-informed about Christianity than she is. Am I going to tell her, like, hey, Mom, I think you're fucking vile and evil for preaching Christianity. You're fucking stupid. No. Let her.
Okay,
she's
so
like a middle-aged Middle Eastern woman who practices Christianity because it makes her feel good.
That's a common thing.
Wrong for that.
Yeah, that is a common thing. So there's a difference between whether something's moral and being moral police. I didn't think you were advocating for moral police. I was just wondering if you think it's moral, like somebody to get tricked into something and then they're following you. You think that scenario is not a moral issue, or do you think that is immoral?
If it's not hurting anybody, I don't see the problem with it. Like, one of my best friends in the world is super Christian. He's so Christian, I think it's fucking obnoxious, right? But at the same time, if the call to arms comes, I still trust that guy with my life, right? Like, he's proven that I can trust him with my life. So, I guess it's just perspective. I don't know.
Okay, so yeah, there used to be a website called What is the Harm? I can't find it now. I think it's closed down, but they were covering instances where people thought that it's okay to do stuff if it doesn't seem to be hurting you. There are people, for example, who will go and get the services of a chiropractor for years, and they'll be fine. And then one day, they end up getting a stroke when the chiropractor is working on their neck, which is not an uncommon problem with chiropractic practice. And I know paramedics who've had to pick up patients because of this very problem numerous times. And there are some well-known problems with chiropractic, it's so-called medicine. This question about whether it's harmful for someone to follow into something that's not true is an important one, because it can also be a gateway to them being tricked into other things. I don't agree with you that that's okay. I think that that we as a society, we owe it to the members of our society to try to help them not get steered off the wrong path and into something that is a scam. And that's why we have laws about fraud and whatnot that kind of try to prevent it, and people end up getting arrested and going to jail, getting charged in courts and then going to jail or paying really high fines for committing acts of fraud. My concern is that if people have this attitude that it's their fault for getting tricked into it, and we just let people keep getting tricked into this, then society ends up going in the wrong direction, in my view. We're not helping other people to get better at detecting these things and staying out of the problems that it can cause. Like, there's people who've lost their life savings by getting tricked into scams and things like that. This erodes society in the long term instead of making it better. Like, as a society, we're supposed to be helping each other as a group. What are your thoughts on this?
I see. Basically, what you're suggesting is just mental babysitting at that point. Like, let people be stupid.
Well,
like, if someone wants, like, you're just suggesting babysitting at that point.
So public education. So
have you read about Project 2025?
So just say public education, starting from elementary school.
Are we talking about religion or 2025?
Have you read about Project 2025?
What would Project 2025 happen to be?
Project 2025 is a what's it, like a 700 or 800 page document that Trump staffers from the last administration that some of them that he was working with had made, that is detailing the plans to basically turn the government into theocracy, destroy the LGBTQ people, lots of stuff, right?
Okay.
Lots of stuff. And Trump currently is bringing these people into office that wrote this.
Okay. And
the point being is that the number of people that will support and vote for a policy like that is greatly influenced by the general public discourse that everyday people have about what is true or not. And if you don't have a problem with a person pointing out that, say, it's raining when you thought that it wasn't raining before you go outside and get wet, or that it's like a fake that you bought instead of an original article, then you were deceived. If you don't have a problem with someone saving you from buying another fake or saving you from getting caught out flat by having the wrong information, you don't need to associate someone discussing a matter of fact with insulting and disparaging you as a person, right? You don't have to take it personally if someone talks to you about what's true or not, or what's beneficial or not. And that's not the intent of a religious conversation or any other kind of like critical thinking conversation, to insult the person or demean or attack the person, like you've said repeatedly. It's just not the default requirement or goal. Do some people behave in a way that's threatening? Sure, right? We're not saying that it never happens. Is it sometimes awkward, even if you try to approach it very diplomatically? Sure, right? But that's why when we talk about these matters, we don't just say, here's a bat of what's the facts to beat people over the head with. We also talk about, like, what are constructive and diplomatic ways to have these conversations so that you can try to actually build rapport with the people that you're talking to over the long term of conversations, rather than alienate them with one sort of disastrous conversation that isn't patient and willing to be charitable and kind of kind to the person you're talking to. It's enormously important to be kind to who you're talking to, because these discussions usually take time, multiple conversations over days, weeks, or years before people actually are willing to change their mind.
After you have a comment, I'll say something, but I know you want to respond.
So what were you going to say?
Oh, I'm sure. I was just going to build off what. Oh no, were you about to respond?
Yeah, but you interrupted, so just go ahead. I don't go.
Okay, I was just going to build off what Ick said, but that is to say, I agree with your vibe, but disagree with the argument. I would say that we should go in this with the people that we're talking to, that is to say, your mother and your best friend, are not idiots. They're not dumb. It is that we disagree on a very specific issue and think that not only would they be better off, but the world would be better off if
they were atheists.
Not only so, I agree with. I think what you were trying to say is top level. We want to make people skeptic, that's what we would like to do, is really make people skeptics. Atheism, I think, is a resulting measure of being a skeptic. But I also want to push back on you said, mental babysitting. I disagree on that word specifically. I think that's what religion is. I think what we're doing, excuse all puns, but we are mental debating. And we are, sure.
So you said you said religion's mental babysitting, right? So my mom, right, I'll use her as an example. She's been practicing Christianity basically since she's been alive, right? Sure. When she was 16, she left from Israel. She came to the U.S. She had a job. She worked for about 45, 50 years. She married my dad I'm gonna focus up, in her like mid-20s, right?
Okay.
And she's been living a happy life as a mother with a family ever since. At what point is she being mentally babysat? Like, at what point is her religion
I can tell you.
babysitting like what she thinks? Because it seems like what
So
she did was she immigrated to another country, got married, had job for 30 years, then, well, she's about to retire, but, you know.
But do you notice what was never in your story? It wasn't like Jesus helped her move. You know what I mean? It was people around her. It was her doing the heavy lifting.
So where does her faith mentally babysit her here? She did all these things and she just
Ask
happens to
her
believe that Christ
where
is her
her
Lord and
family
Savior.
members are when they die.
Yeah, she believes they go to heaven.
There you go.
So let me ask you this. Is it wrong? So do you think it's wrong for my mother to believe that her family members are going to a better place when they die because they'll bring her mental clarity and peace?
I think
Or
that it
would you go to
can.
my 63-year-old mother and be like, "You're fucking stupid.
No.
They're going to the dirt. It's blackout when they die. Fuck heaven. Your religion is fucking stupid." Do
That's
you
an
see where that
extreme.
comes
That's an
do you see where
extreme
that
way
comes
to deal
across
with her.
as do you see where that comes across as
Yeah, because it also violates what I told. Well, in fact, I even have at the very bottom here in my final notes, which is don't be an asshole. Because that is the entire point. No, you don't go. I just attended a Jewish funeral. Did I go around and be like, ha ha? Well, they have loose versions of heaven anyway. No, you respect the dead, and more likely you respect the living who are there to respect the dead. And so, no, you don't go at a funeral and tell someone that, oh, they're not really there or something like, because that's really about, if you someone does that, it's really about them and whatever is going on with their needs right now. But I'm saying in an actual intellectual argument, when she's not in pain, when she's not suffering, when it's not being malicious or attacking, and when both parties are actually coming to the table to debate something, that is when you lay the cards out on the table. You say, well, this happened, there's no evidence for this. It is. You never do outgoing calls. So we shouldn't go to churches and go knock, 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 stop believing in God. Because that would be a shitty thing probably to do. But what we can do is invite people to come to us and say, what do you believe and why?
Okay, quick question, right? Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
Okay, so you're all for it, right? So my mom lived her life, right? You go to her and then you convince her atheism is the way. Her religion is like fucking stupid. She needs to be an
She literally
atheist.
just said that
And
she
she
wouldn't go to her. Did
changes
you hear that part?
to
Can
atheism.
you
Like she
can you
converts to
address
atheism. But let me ask
what
you
she
this.
said?
What changes
She
now
just
that
said
she's
she
an
wouldn't
atheist?
do that. You're ignoring what she said and what I said, which is we wouldn't go to her. If she wanted to talk to us, we could discuss it, but we're not going to people's homes or going to people's churches in the way that you're describing. And you're mischaracterizing any criticism of an idea as calling the person who believes it stupid. I think there are some very smart Christians. Christianity is very complicated. It takes a lot of study to learn about it and master it. It's not, it doesn't make you stupid for believing it, even if it's not true.
I just want to add one comment that came from our YouTube audience from Deconverted Man. We don't want them to knock on our door. That is obviously in response to what IX is highlighting. Amy saying that we wouldn't go to them; they would have to come to us.
No, the things that we would do with somebody like that is say, "Hey, please don't vote Trump because Project 2025 is not American and it's trying to destroy our government."
Vote Trump. Hell yeah, cheap gases. Cheap gas prices. Fuck yeah. I think it's a thumbs up for me.
God, this guy's an idiot.
No. See, in July, they proposed a 20% pay raise.
We're not talking politics up here besides the Project 2025 thing. Nobody cares about any of this additional nonsense. What I'm saying is that your position is totally unfounded, and everything that we're doing is saying, hey, this is not how you think it is. And because the first thing you asked us was, or not first thing, but the thing you asked us, would we go to your grandma and say, hey, are you fucking this, fucking that, fucking this, fucking that? Right? None of us would have that conversation with anybody like that. You're a fucking idiot if you think that that's how anybody's engaging anybody, because that's not. Like, even the most militant atheists don't engage people like that. You're woefully uneducated to have this conversation. You don't even know what Project 2025 is. And when I said, what we'll do is we will go to the older people, and rather than deconverting the older people at that point, we'll say, hey, kind of like I did with my parents, please don't vote Trump. Trump is not American. He's trying to destroy our country with Project 2025. And the first thing that you said was, I voted Trump, high gas prices. What the fuck is wrong with you? Do you feel like that was an appropriate response to anything in the conversation? Amy asked you a question ago, or a moment ago, and you started talking back with whatever point you were going to go into next rather than addressing the point. When I started talking earlier, you started talking at me, and I got through my first point, but when I was getting to my second point, you started talking at me again in the middle of me talking. And I could not remember my point for the life of me because I was busy changing my train of thought, being interrupted, telling you not to interrupt me. I can't believe I have to teach adults how to have a conversation and how to pay attention to what people are saying to them.
And I'll just say that what Ix said was right, is that and like Taco said, I wouldn't go out going to your mom. I think that would probably be not a good outcome. However, what I can tell you from anyone that deconverts is one of the benefits that you will get is you get a healthier grieving process. Is that yes, it is a clean, easy fix, a band-aid, just to have this heaven and hell system. However, in my opinion, to have a healthier grieving system that gets love and support from family members in this world is the best way.
So that's your opinion, all right?
Well,
I did start with that.
We're not saying we know for certain that there's no afterlife, although some of us are. I'm not. But
Taco
the
just
thing,
said there's no afterlife.
well, okay, I said some of us are, but I'm not. I'm not prepared to completely rule it out. I don't believe any of it, but I'm not completely closed to it. The thing is, one of the problems, and this has to do with, I'm comfortable with not knowing for certain what an outcome is going to be for certain things, for many things. And I've noticed that a lot of people who get really strong into their religions will be it's like most of them seem to have this rejection of or this discomfort with not knowing everything that's going to happen. They need to have some kind of assurance and get rid of completely everything that's unknown. It's like what it seems like to me is a lot of the religions condition people to be uncomfortable with the unknown. I see the unknown as an opportunity to an inspiration or an opportunity to have some kind of direction of what to look into next, what to learn about further, and on like that. But I think there's a lot of people who don't see it that way, and they see it as something to be afraid of. I think this is very bad for society, that a lot of people are conditioned to fear the unknown instead of to embrace curiosity about it and try to explore that curiosity. I'm not saying go into a place that's obviously dangerous and explore it because you don't know what's in there. Do your research, but we don't know what's beyond the edges of the observable universe. What's wrong with there's nothing wrong with saying, I don't know, and trying to explore further. That's the whole reason we're out so far already.
So if you consider not all people share your same sense of curiosity about the unknown?
Oh, I know for certain that that's the case.
Like, some people are terrified of dying. Like, it brings them mental clarity. If they believe they're going to go to heaven when they die, that's the mental clarity they need to not go into the black and just crash out, right?
Okay. I see that as actually a pretty scary proposition, because if I go to an afterlife like hell, it's torture for eternity. If I go to an afterlife like heaven, I'm not myself anymore, because apparently I lose my traumatic memories, and I do have some, which have helped shaped my perspective even today, all through as I'm growing up. For example, I watched a violent murder happen when I was a kid and got therapy for that. I'd have a very different outlook on life and attitude about society, I think, if I hadn't gone through that. I maybe go through something else, but as much as I would have preferred not to have witnessed that kind of stuff going on, it is who I am. It is part of my history, and I think it is what I'm used to being today. I don't want to be in some kind of afterlife where my choices are taken away from me, and I have to live in that state of bliss or torture for an eternity with no options, and limited in heaven, a limited free thought, because I've lost part of who I am. I'm not myself anymore. Like, to me, that's another form of torture. It's just with a clouded backdrop, with a backdrop of white clouds instead of red fire. To me, that's a much more scary proposition than things just ending, and I guess you could call it the ultimate freedom, if you want to take it that far.
So if that's torture to you, but comfort and bliss to most people, what's the issue? If you are very convinced that it's not real and you don't believe in it, right? You're an atheist, right? You don't believe in it, but they want to believe in it because it makes them feel more comfortable.
This guy just zoned out of this entire fucking conversation. Has he not listened to a single word any one of us have said to him? We've addressed this question like 5 times, 5 different ways.
I'm just trying to respond to him here. Just give me a sec.
Okay, who's this conversation between at this point? Now I'm confused.
Sticky fingers. Sorry, you're on the stage. You're conversing with everybody here, but I am going to try to address your point. So, if people are believing in a falsehood, I look at this, like, I have thought this through. I've considered it, and I've come to these conclusions that this is the result. You're in there for eternity with no option to kind of, like, I'm living a good life here on planet Earth in reality, because I have choices. I can move in any direction. I can change the world around me in small ways and hopefully in big ways in the long run, and for what I think is the better. But in this afterlife, like, I don't think these people have really thought it through. They haven't tried to contemplate what it would be like to even forget about eternity, to be in that state for 100 years. Most people wouldn't want to be in a padded cell for even a week. It would be stuck in a straitjacket in a padded cell for even a week. That's not a comfortable thing for people generally. Maybe some people could tolerate it, but 2 weeks is starting to get to be quite a lot for even those people. It's just not our nature. Our nature is we have muscles, we have a skeletal structure, we move around, we engage with the environment around us, we get this kind of feedback. From my understanding, in heaven, it's just all boring clouds and people all around just worshipping this crazy God character that's put everybody in this situation. Like, this to me is people need to think, and like you mentioned it earlier, intellectual laziness. You didn't use those exact words, but you introduced that idea into the conversation. That's exactly what that is. Why would somebody want that kind of certainty that doesn't change? Like, that seems extremely boring and almost torturous to me.
Have you considered people like the unchanging? Because it's like you said, people are afraid of the unknown. So you have a vast curiosity in the unknown. A lot of people don't.
They've been conditioned for
a
that.
lot of people, the unknowns. So, okay.
Okay, I
That's
have
literally
a
my
question
best
for you.
response is when you say they've been conditioned for that. My best response is, okay, and
I
so
have
they've
a
been
question
conditioned
for
for
you.
it.
Stick your finger, please. I have a question for you.
Send it, motivator.
Do you think lying to yourself is better or not? If it means that you
go
don't
for
have to feel.
Yeah, go for it. Why would someone want to be afraid? Let them be happy.
Yeah, so to actually be lying to yourself is better than actually tackling the facts or the truth.
Let me ask you this. If your form of clarity, right, is knowing that there is no God and that when we die, we just rot in the ground, and you can still go out. Let me just ask you, right?
Yeah.
If your version of like clarity, right, there is no God, when we die, we just return to the earth where we came, right? And then you can still go out and you can be a productive citizen in society. And then a man who believes in Christianity, because his version of clarity is when he dies, he's going to go up to heaven and be with God, and he can still go out and be a productive member of society. Like apples and oranges at that point.
Okay, let's take it to a different topic because the religion thing is more confusing to you than anything. So
I just asked you. Do you have a response for that though?
Yeah, I will respond. Just let me give my example and see.
But I just gave my example. Like, what's the issue?
Yeah, I don't have any problem with people being productive member of society. That's the issue.
That's not why I asked. That's not why I asked.
Like, here's
now you're mischaracterizing what I said.
Let me ask you the question, and then you could answer.
But do you understand why I asked you though?
If someone have a partner that have been cheating on them, and the fact that this partner have been cheating on them and then being, I don't know, stealing money or taking advantage of the situation, do you think it's right for them to stay happy in this relationship or face the painful fact that this partner is bad for them and have to break up this relationship?
Are we talking about a cheating partner or faith in God?
Same thing.
See, not the same thing.
Yes, the same thing. Because
no, not really. No, they aren't.
Yes, because you are okay with lying to yourself as long as it make you happy.
If they genuinely,
you are okay. You're okay being with your cheating partner, even because it's gonna make you happy. It's not gonna make you face the ugliness of actually having to break down this relationship or working on it to fix it. Do you see where the problem is?
I got a question for you, Motivator. You don't believe in God, right? Are you an atheist?
I am an atheist, yeah.
Okay, let me ask you this. So for certainty, God's not real. So these Christians, for certain to them, God is real.
Yes.
To them, it's real.
Yes.
Cheating partner, that is a real thing. God, well, I don't know if God's real or not. So I'm agnostic. I don't know. Do I care to find out? Probably not. To them, it's real. Cool beans. Go for it. Right?
So
but you, believing in God is the same as having a cheating wife who's stealing all your money.
So, yeah, because what the problem you don't see here that if I could be able to function as a human being in this society with no beliefs in God, and they could function in this society with belief in God, that means that belief in God is not necessary to function in society. Okay, that's the main thing. That's the main thing for me to interact. Let me finish. The main thing for me as member of society, I want you to interact with me as a decent human being. I don't want you to be. Do not come yell at me telling me that I'm going to hell because I don't believe in your God. I don't care for that.
Those people are just not pleasant people. Same with atheists who say religion is vile and evil, and then they say the people who practice it are vile and evil, right?
Sticky fingers. Let's backstep for a second because I don't think he's listening.
Yeah, I don't think he's listening either.
Sticky, what was my reason that I said, or what was the thing that I said? I told my parents about Trump.
Yeah, don't vote for Trump. Project 2025.
Okay, so
I think it's a good thing. I'm glad you can disagree like that.
Oh my!
How people have this relationship with their parents.
you think Project 25 is good?
No, I think it's good. He can disagree with his parents like that.
Oh, okay.
Well, can I
I don't know. I
ask
haven't
you
read
a
enough.
question?
I haven't read
Oh
enough.
no, go
Well,
Taco.
the point
You were
of
asking.
that was if you understand that I've done that, then you understand that you've been vastly mischaracterizing everything that's going on.
I didn't say you by name, though. I wasn't talking about you.
What I'm saying is that you're just
that's
generalizing, and it's
point.
very annoying.
But I didn't say you by name. I wasn't talking about you. That's you being pretentious to assume I was talking about you.
I didn't think you were talking about me there. What are the fuck?
But then you said you're mischaracterizing
oh my fuck, yeah. What I'm saying is that he's been mischaracterizing everything. He's not engaging with us like a human. I can't do it. I'm sorry. This is not a good person to have a conversation with. He is incapable of having a real conversation. Mobarak, he was not really engaging with you there.
No, I know. Because I would ask him a question, and rather than actually trying to answer it or even think about it, he will have different examples and different questions to combat my ideas. Like that's not the situation here. If you want to have a conversation, we need a conversation, not an examination.
And if I could just bring up an example, once again, there probably isn't a religion that is this specific, but these beliefs, unfortunately, have chemical-like consequences in that believing the larger religion, unfortunately, gets you a lot of baggage. So there could be a religion out there that just says, hate Middle Eastern women. All right, we're going to set up a religion, and one of the tenets of our religion is we just hate Middle Eastern women.
I can think of one.
And you say to yourself, well, what's the problem with them just believing in religion? It's just religion. Well, unfortunately, the religion comes with a lot of ugly beliefs from thousands of years ago that they say cannot be changed, edited, or reformed because it comes from God.
You know, a deconverted man in our YouTube audience has asked, why is he believing lies, or why is he telling lies? And he's saying, I would ask him if he cares about the truth, even though it's clear what the answer is. Like, you know, he was being kind of unclear with some of this stuff, and it just is, I thought some of the conversation was good, and then some of it didn't go so well.
I just felt like he wasn't engaging. But if anybody else would like to come up and join us up here, you're welcome to raise your hand and just engage with us like a human, right?
Yeah, there's some other people here,
We're
and they
not
disagreed.
ChatGPT bots that don't care about our points being addressed.
Mathematician, welcome. It's great to have you on here. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. What's on your mind?
I've been kind of hammering this point for a couple weeks now, but there's a research paper I came across. I'll put it in the side chat. That provides empirical evidence of an inconsistent redshift in galaxies that rotate in opposite orientations. I can't put any links in the side chat. Well, shit.
There's a separate text channel. It's called.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
Heathen. What is it called?
Heathen Hangout.
Heathen Hangout.
There's a Heathen Hangout channel. That's where to place the link.
Yeah, that's where we're having all the conversation.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say, other than just like I found this cool paper. It makes me think that the Big Bang Theory is false, and the evidence is pretty, in my opinion, groundbreaking, so to speak.
Have you seen anyone else cover the paper or comment on it that is a physicist?
Yeah.
I'm just
I've heard people comment on this paper, The Mathematician, with pretty damning commentary. So I'm not. I mean, he knows this is kind of nonsense at this point, but he still believes it. So I don't know what to think at this point. But you can talk to them about it.
Wait. Say that one more time. I missed that, Taco.
You can talk to them about it. I'm not going to engage with this.
That's fine. Yeah, I posted in the side chat also a video to go along with it from Anton Petrov. Pretty good video, breaks down the article. But yeah, I just wanted to bring this article up.
Petrov's a good science communicator.
Yeah, I really like him. I really like him. Yeah, I just wanted to throw this in the side chat. Suggest you guys read it. And if the claim is true, which the claim that's being made in this paper is that the experiment that was conducted is a reproducible experiment, and if it's true, then it should be able to be confirmed by upcoming papers. So, anyways,
yeah, Petrov is saying that there needs to be further investigation to basically see if it's.
Yeah, that's fair. I've gone through the data. It definitely does seem like there's a statistically significant difference between the redshift. Like the p-value is pretty low, but yeah, just wanted to bring this up to you guys.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mathematician. By the way, I shared both those links that you posted with our YouTube audience, so they can take a look at it as well just by following links.
Can I add one more asterisk, which would be that although the consensus of peer review right now is that it is the Big Bang model, even if there was a change to the theory and we were to find out it was something else, there are no data points pointing it in a supernatural direction.
That's true.
Yeah. This is great that someone's bringing in some science topics. It's a nice change because we get different things happen. My understanding is that, and I heard Richard Carrier talking about this many years ago in a debate he was in. He'd mentioned that Roger Penrose and Stephen Hawking updated the Big Bang theory to support multiple Big Bangs, so as to be consistent with quantum physics. I'm interested in knowing more about that, and have been trying to find the information since. So I should probably write to Richard Carrier, and maybe he knows.
Does anyone want to chat about anything while we wait for someone to raise their hand?
I'll also continue to say to anyone out there in the audience that there is no God. Come one, come all.
I mean, everybody knows no gods exist, Amy. Come on.
I know, right?
Earlier, I had made a statement about the pork prohibition in Islam, and I think Mobarak was about to respond to that, but our guest moved the topic along. So, if you wanted to continue with that, Mobarak, I'm interested in your critique.
There is a number of things that in Islamic law that kind of makes sense. Because it says if you stranded on an island or somewhere far away from society, and the only source of food or protein to you is pork meat, then or something, I don't know, something else that is forbidden, then you could use what's forbidden to ensure survivability. So that's a thing that Islam, I think, and to be honest, I think it's actually inherited from Judaism, where it's like it's okay to break the law as long as you make sure that like humans survive. So for humanity to survive through like, I don't know, they don't have to keep the Sabbath anymore for some reason, because if you keep the Sabbath, your hospital is not going to work. So you decide, okay, we're not going to keep the hospital workers could work on Sabbath because we need people to work at the hospital. Like, for examples, that's something that Islam, as a descendant of Judaism, inherited.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, there's plagiarization as well, but that's thank you, Mark, for clarifying that. That is sort of what I was thinking of. the stranded on an island thing comes up. We do have somebody who is willing to join us here. Her fallen. I'm not seeing the whole name for some reason.
And Mobarak, that was an excellent point to prove that they know no gods exist, because if you think about that for a second, why would a supernatural afterlife religion value life, huh? Control. They don't care about anything coming after. They want to stay alive as long as possible. They know no gods exist.
It's all about how much they could make out of you while you're alive.
Also, thank you to Donald C. for posting another science article about tired light. Well, it's a Wikipedia article explaining it, and that's obviously in response to the things that Mathematician posted earlier.
Oh yeah, that's got. I mean, I've heard him talk to some science people about. I mean, probably not any physicists or anything, but like science people on the Discord, right? People that read about science, and he's gotten annihilated on that every time. I don't understand. I mean, maybe. I guess it's possible it's correct, right? But I mean, it doesn't seem to be the case from what I've seen and what everybody else he's talked to has said.
And while we're waiting for people to come up, oh no, both Christianity and Islam are mixtures of both Judaism and Zoroastrianism. And yeah, basically Judaism, they talk about death, but they don't really have a lot to do with it until you mix in other religions and you start to get concepts of heaven and hell, and you really get this basically good versus evil. Good times. Also, the Jews were most likely an evolution of the Canaanite religion, and they hated the Canaanites. Good times, or so it's in their book. Welcome, welcome. How are you, Donald C?
Donald, thank you for joining us. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. You've got your microphone turned off right now. Donald's a friend of mine. He's a good friend of mine. He's taught me a lot about certain physics topics.
I have talked to that mathematician guy. Sorry.
Hey, Donald. Thank you for joining us.
I just wanted to say that I've talked to that mathematician guy.
Hey, is everybody okay with bringing Mathematician up as well?
Oh, shit.
Invited him up.
All right. Thank you, Donald. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Mr. Batman, we love you. Oh, he left.
All right, Mathematician, you're here with us as well. Thank you, Donald and Mathematician. Are you guys willing to have a conversation about the physics here?
All right. Well,
yeah, I've talked to that mathematician guy a few times. He's
here now. Mathematician, your volume is quite low.
He's arguing against. Sorry, I had the wrong thing on. I apologize for that.
No problem.
Anyway,
go ahead, Donald, and then we'll let Mathematician respond.
Okay, so I've talked to Mathematician a few times. He's arguing against Lambda, not against Big Bang. So he doesn't even know what he's talking about. So Big Bang Theory is a group of theories, and the one that this tired light is trying to refute is all about Lambda. It's the actual expansion of the universe, not the Big Bang Theory in general. Just Lambda.
yes. That's true. That's true.
Then stop saying Big Bang whenever you're arguing it. Say Lambda.
Well, okay. So, what do you think the Big Bang is evidenced by?
Well, there's lots of evidence for the Big Bang. The 3-to-1 ratio of hydrogen to helium in the universe, the flatness.
It's not evidence of Big Bang. Sorry.
It was predicted by Big Bang.
It's also predicted by a steady state.
No, it's not. There's no prediction of the hydrogen to helium ratio in steady state at all.
How do you figure?
Well, because I've read steady state theory, and there's no predictions about hydrogen to helium ratios in it. The only thing that's ever predicted the 3-to-1 hydrogen to helium ratio in the universe is Big Bang Theory. No other.
Yeah, can you provide me why that's evidenced by the Big Bang Theory?
Because it was predicted by the Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, what
before we discovered it, before we ever knew anything about it, it was predicted by the Big Bang Theory.
Sure. What part of the what part of the Big Bang?
Sorry, Mathematician, could you turn your volume up?
Yeah, hold on. Sorry. How about now? Is that better?
Oh, much better. Yes.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. So, as far as I'm aware, the lambda value determines, whether or not the universe is expanding.
Yes, but it has nothing to do with actual Big Bang nucleosynthesis. It has nothing to do with the Big Bang Theory in general. It has to do with just lambda. So stop saying that it disproves Big Bang. It doesn't do that. At best, you have a challenge to lambda, and that's it.
Okay, but that's like, okay, but I listen. That the other parts of the Big Bang Theory that are not like directly a result of the calculation of lambda, like for example, the inflationary period or the epochs that occur before.
Listen very carefully. The only thing that I want you to understand right now is I want you to stop saying that this disproves Big Bang, because it doesn't do that. At best, it challenges lambda. So start saying that.
Okay. But
that's really all I care about, because you're not arguing against Big Bang nucleosynthesis. You're not arguing against inflation, and you're not arguing against cold dark matter. You're arguing against lambda.
So dark matter is an ad hoc response. Right?
I don't care. I don't care about that. You're arguing against lambda. Stop saying that it disproves Big Bang. Just stop saying that it disproves Big Bang. It doesn't. At best, you're challenging lambda.
Okay, you're just repeating yourself. I'm going to tell you two
because
things.
You are not understanding what I'm saying.
Well, I'm trying to tell you the two things that you said so far that are incorrect.
Okay, just a second, Donald.
Anything incorrect at all?
Donald, can you let's give him a chance. Let's hear him out, and then you can respond. Okay.
Sorry.
So the first thing is the Big Bang is like an overarching theory that has many epochs, right? There are many different like periods in the Big Bang, but ultimately we are winding the clock back from t equals the present time, and the way we wind back the first, like, I think it's 10 billion years at least, is by using lambda, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. I just want you to stop saying that this paper that you're providing disproves the Big Bang Theory, because it doesn't do that. Okay, I let you finish, but you're not going to let me finish. Got it. Okay, fine.
No, Mathematician, it is Donald's turn to respond to you. So I think what he wants you to do, Mathematician, he wants you to kind of put the focus of your argument onto lambda rather than on Big Bang, because that'll make your argument more credible, perhaps. But go ahead, Donald.
So Mathematician, real quick, do you think that lambda or the Big Bang Theory was developed first?
Lambda, for sure.
No, Big Bang.
Well, okay, so if you ask the Catholics, it's the Big Bang, right? But if you want to like,
if you ask physicists, they're going to tell you the Big Bang.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
No.
When did Hubble discover his little thing? What year was that?
After the Catholics determined the Big Bang Theory.
The Catholics didn't do that. A physicist did that.
Well, the Catholics really pushed it, and the Pope really pushed it, right?
Have you ever read the letters between?
Before they had Hubble's constant, by the way.
Have you ever read the letters between Lemaitre and the Pope? Because I have.
No, I haven't.
Oh, you should go do that before you start spouting nonsense. Over and over and over, Georges Lemaitre said, "Do not use this as evidence for God." Over and over and over and over.
This is correct.
It's funny that you say that, because like I can show you from the Catholic website, like well.
I don't care about the Catholics. I care about Georges Lemaitre. He's the one that said this.
Sure. Even if that's the case, right? The theory came before Hubble's constant, right? And it was Hubble's constant that quote unquote confirmed the Big Bang, right?
It was a prediction of. One of the many predictions of.
Sure. Okay. So when we find evidence against lambda, right, then we have to go back to the very, very core theory that predicted lambda to begin with.
Well, you're putting the cart before the horse, man. You're saying that we might have a challenge to lambda, therefore we must disprove Big Bang. That doesn't make sense.
No, I'm saying is a challenge to lambda is a challenge to the Big Bang.
No, it's not. It's very different. So let me ask you a question. Do you think that inflation happened? Yes or no?
The inflation period, you mean? No, I don't.
So you don't even accept inflation theory?
No, I don't.
Right. I can't speak to an irrational human being.
Can I intervene here? Mathematician, why do you think inflation theory is wrong?
Same reason I think dark matter is wrong. It's ad hoc reasoning. And every single year that JWST publishes data, they keep saying that, like, well, the inflationary period must have been shorter, right? It's ad hoc reasoning.
What? The inflationary period took from negative 10 to the negative 43 seconds after the initial inflation to 1 second. That's it. 1 second of the
was that the original claim?
Yes, that's always been the claim, because Big Bang takes you back to 1 second after the initial inflation. So inflation theory takes us back to 10 from 1 second to 10 to the negative 43 seconds.
Yeah, and we have no evidence of that period.
We have mountains of evidence of that period.
No.
Would you like me to get you some of the evidence? Because I will.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. Yeah.
Sure. Give me one
second. Okay. Yeah, Donald, you can post that in the Heathen Hangout chat, and I will share it with our YouTube audience as well.
Microwave background and say that's evidence, probably. That's the only thing I've seen so far. But it's, again, like the inflation period is just like dark matter in the sense that we have no direct evidence of it, right? It's just ad hoc.
Well, unfortunately, Randolph, this isn't like on a computer. This is stuff that I've written down on paper that I've actually done research on.
Okay,
there we go.
We can get back to it at a later episode as well. That's fine if you want to do that.
Well, no, I've got it right here.
Okay, yeah. If you want to read it out, we can give you a couple minutes to do that. Is that all you need?
It'll just take a couple minutes. It'll take like a minute.
Perfect.
So evidence for Big Bang cosmology, including inflation, is Older's paradox, cosmic microwave background radiation, recession velocities, many accurate predictions, 3-to-1 hydrogen to helium ratio, baryon to photon ratio, timeline of galaxy formation, particle accelerator demonstrations, symmetry breaking of fundamental forces.
Mathematician, please let Donald finish, and then you can respond. Okay.
Well, he's just like railroading a different point. No. Like, can we just do one at a time at least?
We've given him a minute here to explain it all, and then we can maybe review things if you like. Go ahead, Donald.
All right, thank you. Bubble chambers math predictions, the 40 to 60 E-folds to account for the CMB uniformity, and let's see here. That's all that I have written down for now. But I mean, we can get into any of it, but it was all predicted by inflation.
Thank you, Donald. Did you want to just maybe just revisit what was the first item in the list that you mentioned? Because I think Mathematician wants to address them.
Close my book. Shit, I closed my book. Let me get back to it.
Yeah, or if you remember any of them, I think one of the first ones.
My personal favorite is the 3-to-1 hydrogen to helium ratio. It confirms both Big Bang and inflation. Can't happen without both.
Can you explain how?
Well, because of the way that the annihilations happened in the inflation epochs, the lepton, baryon, and hadron annihilations, because of the amount of energy that was converted in that very earliest moment, that predicts the amount of hydrogen and helium that's going to be available.
So, Mathematician, do you need more time to research this, or do you have an opinion on this you'd like to share? Please go ahead.
Sure. Well, I would just like to see how that, where the prediction of the 3-to-1 ratio is, and how that ratio is generated by the Big Bang theory, because it's not.
It is, though. It was predicted by inflation theory.
Yeah, I know you keep saying that, but like, we could say that like, in the round Earth model, it's predicted that sunlight casts a different shadow depending on which longitude or latitude you're in, right?
Just to clarify, you mean spherical Earth, right?
Yeah, spherical Earth. Yeah.
You're not a flat earther then. You think the Earth is a sphere? Okay.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna say. There's like tons of things that like are consistent with both a spherical Earth and a flat Earth, and I'm not going to make those arguments.
Wait, can I pause this debate? You're a flat Earth atheist? I've never met one.
I'm not a flat Earth atheist.
Not a flat earther.
Yeah, none of us is flat earthers here. I think we're pretty safe.
Fantastic. Okay, continue onward. My faith in humanity is restored by one small drop.
and we're all being
I'm just
kept
trying to
together
say that
because
there
it's not a
are-
flat Earth. Yep.
I'm just trying to say there are explanations that can be easily explained with both a flat Earth and a round Earth, which is why
No,
like
there's not.
okay, I can give you an example, right? The air pressure.
There's a difference between
the
saying
ideal
it's ad
gas
hoc
law.
compatible with both and saying that it predicts it in a very specific way. And the point about the hydrogen to helium ratio, as was pointed out, had a very specific mechanism that predicted it well before observation. That's quite a bit different. And you already used the term ad hoc, so I know that you know what ad hoc means. Saying that a theory is just compatible with or can like retroactively be made to harmonize with something is not the same thing as having a prediction that turns out to be
I
successful.
agree. And that's why I'm trying to ask Donald C. is where is the prediction made? Because what he's
I just
clarifying.
told you, inflation predicts it. So does Big Bang nucleosynthesis, because you have to have, because of the amount of energy that was converted in the inflationary period, it determines what's going to be available for Big Bang nucleosynthesis.
Yeah, can you provide where the 3-to-1 ratio was predicted?
Inflation theory.
That's okay. Well, if you're not going to go into specifics, then I'm just going to assume that you're not going to like answer my question.
Whoa. I'm answering the question. I mean,
you're just
it's
saying
it's so simple that I can give you a Wikipedia article about it. Do you want a Wikipedia article? You like Wikipedia.
If it shows how the 3-to-1 ratio is predicted, then yeah, I would like it. Yes.
I just told you how, but it died.
But just to clarify, IX, just to give you a different example of what Donald C. would probably do as well here. Another one of the things that Donald C. listed was specifically the CMB and the uniformity of the CMB. Donald C. mentioned that.
Yes.
And the thing about a uniform CMB is that if in an inflation period, you would expect like a more or less homogeneous isotropic universe, which is what we observe. Is that correct, Donald C.?
Yes.
Okay, do you realize that like even though the inflationary model predicts the homogeneity, that homogeneous isotropic universes are also perfectly consistent with a static universe?
No, they're not.
This is what I'm talking about. This is the
it was unexpected. It was unexpected on the steady state theory. It was unexplained. It was magic on steady state. We didn't know what it was all about with steady state, but whenever you use Big Bang and inflation to look at it, it solves the homogeny and isotropy problem.
I swear this is just like when globe.
Don't do that. Don't compare me to anybody else. I'm not anybody else. I'm me. You're you. Let's not compare either of us to someone else. Let's not do that.
Yeah, but it's important to know what you're doing. It's important to know that what you're doing.
I'm going to leave, and you can compare me to other people and talk to other people, because I don't care about other people. I care about me, not other people. So if you're going to compare me to other people, I'm just going to fucking leave.
If you're going to make the claim that it's somehow predicted by a solid state universe, or steady state, sorry, what mathematically actually predicts any particular structure?
Me? Wait, are you seriously asking me? Because I've been asking Donald C. for that very question, and he hasn't answered it. You're asking me to
cited my source.
Mathematical. You just said the inflation period. That's all you said, Donald.
I cited my source. I put it in Heathen Hangout.
Oh, okay. Let me see.
He's providing.
We just shared that with the YouTube audience.
Yeah, the question I had for you is like, what is it about believing that the universe doesn't have a Big Bang period that somehow furnishes you with mathematics that predicts any particular structural features or distributions? It seems like it's going to be relatively agnostic to almost any possible structure, because there's no specific. It's more like the absence of a theory about why things are structured the way that they are than a specific one.
Well, allow me to read this, and I'll come back to you.
Okay. I mean, you made the claim earlier that it did, and it sounds more like you're just saying it's ad hoc compatible with it, not that it predicts it.
No, the helium is not ad hoc. It's the dark matter and the what is the other one? The homogeneity and the isotropy. I can't fucking say it.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. You made the claim that it would predict that it would be homogeneous, right? I don't see anything specific. I mean, I'm not as familiar with the solid state universe proposals, but it doesn't sound from any of them that I've heard that there's anything real specific all other than inflation, which would explain why things are just sort of evenly distributed. The idea of inflation is that they all started from a common state, which spread them out thinly, evenly in all directions, right? So what is it in the alternative proposal which gives any particular structural prediction?
It doesn't make prediction
Your,
about
your volume's down again, Mathematician. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, the sorry. The do you have Randolph, do you have me turned down, or is because like
No, you were really quiet and your voice like goes in and out. Yeah.
Oh, I'm just trying to be helpful so that your words don't
no
look
worries.
You need to stay consistent distance from your microphone. That's the issue, probably.
Yeah, no worries. I'm just trying to figure out like what's wrong with my mic. Sorry.
Like you became inaudible just then when you like moved your head away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so the steady state model doesn't make a lot of predictions at all, actually.
That's what I would agree with, right? So there's no prediction, whereas the prediction of homogeneity and isotropy is as he pointed out, like a relatively novel one that, you know, it's not incompatible with. You're confusing incompatible with predicts.
So IX, do you agree that like all the models, all the computer models that we use to quote unquote map out inflation do not create the same isotropy and homogeneity of matter that we see in the universe today?
I'm not familiar with all of the models. I'm only familiar with some of the ones that have been covered in science media.
So when you have gravity, right? Most particles just like if you have like any like sort of computer models of gravity using like Euler's method, it'll show that objects tend to just like move towards each other and eventually just like conglomerate into one group, not many groups. The idea that there isn't as consistent of a universe as we see in the CMB is actually evidence against what Donald was talking about earlier, which is that the CMB.
That's just a lie.
So if you ask physicists, right, like whether or not it's the homogeneity or the isotropy of the universe is evidence for or against the Big Bang, you're going to get different responses from different people, and it's because the people who think that it is evidence think that think that like, oh well, it's so homogeneous that like when you take a really consistent
Mathematician, cite your source
really quickly.
Cite your source, please.
For what claim?
For this one that you're talking about right now, that different physicists are going to give you different answers for the homogeneity and isotropy of the universe.
Yeah, I got you.
While he looks for that, I'll just read a comment from our YouTube audience. Scott Duke noted, George Gamow made the 3-to-1 ratio prediction, and Ralph Affer and Robert Herman. Steady state a la Hoyle does not make that prediction.
Does not. It was magic on steady state theory. We didn't know what caused the homogeneity and isotropy of the universe back then. But Alan Guth fixed all of that with inflation theory in 1987. It's a wonderful paper. Everybody should read it. I'll post it.
Great. I can share that with the YouTube audience as well. Did anybody have any other thoughts on this, or I think we're probably at a bit of a stopping point for this at the moment.
I'm just still looking at my source. Hold on.
Oh, so that's right. Yeah, my apologies. Yes.
I do want to say I enjoy the spirited discussion. This is a healthy way to ask for evidence and arguments and so on. If anyone's wondering why are we having this conversation on a show that's about what do people believe and why do they believe it, with a focus on religion, this is sort of the alternative to my book says so, right? Like we want to have uncertainty, and we want to have kind of nuanced, weighted opinions about the likelihood of different theories being true, because we're often in a state where in the early stages of investigating some matters, we have underdetermined questions, right? Which basically means we don't know what causes something, but there's like 2 or 3 proposals, all of which are kind of like viable at this time. And what we do over time with theory selection is we have criteria for theoretic virtues, and we have like methodology for trying to attack and like poke and falsify the theories that are currently being considered to try to rule some of them out and get to the likeliest true theory. This is a very healthy thing. And I think one of the things that if someone's listening to this and going, oh, look, the scientists don't know anything, they're just arguing with each other. That's why I believe in, religious book XYZ. Don't do that. This is a huge mistake. You should be much more comfortable talking to a person who gives you p-values and error bars and caveats to the limitations and the need to do further research on a question than someone who thinks that a 1,000-year-old book gives them absolute certainty about any significant matters in the universe.
In addition to that, the science is amenable to new facts or new discoveries and is adapted to remain consistent with all the facts as much as possible. That's the general idea. Whereas religious texts, there is a lot of resistance to changing them. Where science, the attitude seems to welcome change because new information leads to better understanding.
Also, Mathematician, I'd like a citation from this century, please.
From what? The quote that I just put in? You want a citation?
From this century? That'd be nice.
Please let me interject. What Mathematician posted is the observable properties of such an expanding, stationary, homogeneous universe are obtained, and all the observational tests are found to give good agreement. 1948 by Herman Bondi and Thomas Gold. So that's what Donald is responding to, I believe.
Yeah.
Also, quotations are not citations, just so you know.
This is from their book, The Steady State Theory.
Okay, where's the peer-reviewed paper? Give me a peer-reviewed paper. I gave you peer-reviewed papers. Give me peer-reviewed papers. Come on.
Yeah, where's your? Yeah, well, hold on. Let me look at your peer-reviewed paper for a second.
Yeah, they're at the bottom of the Wikipedia article. Plus, I posted Alan Guth's 1983. I got the year wrong. Sorry, it's 83 paper in Heathen Hangout.
The PDF that Donald posted is from MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, dated December 6, 2018. Professor Alan Guth. It's titled Physics 8.286, The Early Universe, Lecture Notes 10, The New Inflationary Universe.
Yeah, I can't open the document.
Yeah, it's a PDF. The link is there, but it'll be in the transcripts if you look at the video later as well.
Yeah, it's just not loading on my end. Oh, there we go. Okay, sorry, hold on.
Yeah, it is from MIT.edu, so it is a credible source.
Here's another one, just in case. It's a .com, but it's a DOI, so it's peer-reviewed. So do you have any peer-reviewed sources for me about steady-state theory predicting the homogeny and isotropy of the universe?
Can you?
I think you already
Are you serious? Are you gonna let me read this fucking paper first, please?
I mean, it's only been 40 years.
I think he already caved on that one and acknowledged that it didn't.
Oh, sure. I don't know why we're talking about this because
me because I asked him about this earlier and he just said, "Yeah, it doesn't."
Yeah, I remember that now. Sorry. I mean, still, what you're arguing against is lambda, not Big Bang nucleosynthesis, not inflation. You're arguing against lambda. That's the only thing I came up here to tell you because I tried to explain this to you for like an hour the other day, and you're still shoveling the same horseshit.
So, can you clarify for us while he reads, if lambda turns out to be wrong?
Sorry, just real quick. The second link that you sent is a paper that I don't have access to. So if you can, all I have is the abstract, and it doesn't say anything of what you're talking about. I'm still loading the MIT PDF, so I'll keep waiting on that.
I would check out Library Genesis or what's the other one? The Ravens one.
Can someone post a link? That'd be helpful. And also, can someone post a part of the PDF because it's still not loading? The part where the model actually makes the prediction. preferably, or just like a blurb.
Even a blurb?
Literally a screenshot would help. Like, I can't load this, so I can't rebut.
Yeah, there's a website called Library Genesis that has pretty much every academic journal available for free, along with all the books and stuff.
All right, hold on. Let me look up Library Genesis then.
I want everybody in the audience to remember these guys are not science communicators. You should trust the consensus.
I was actually going to make a point about that. The true people that are going to end up telling us we rely on scientific consensus, people who are experts in the field.
Okay, what am I looking up in Library Genesis exactly?
You should be able
So
to
if you
type
have
in
a
VY.
name of the paper and an abstract and like a number, then you
What's
can
the
just
name of
put
the
in the name
paper?
or the number. And
Yeah, I don't have the name of the paper because I couldn't load it.
So
The
even if
New
it doesn't give you
Inflationary
the
Universe by
paper,
Alan
it'll
Gibbs.
still give you the abstract and it'll
I
still
can't hear two
give you
people at
the
the same
number.
time. Sorry, what? Oh, it's the one oh the other one. Okay, hold on. I see the other one. The Big Bang and Cosmic Inflation. Let's see. There's nothing.
What do you mean?
I literally put the title in the. There's nothing.
Well, how about just type in Alan Guth inflation? How about just do that into Library Genesis? I'll accept any peer-reviewed paper that comes up under that search. Here, I'm there. I'll do it myself. Alan Guth.
There's nothing.
Inflation.
Man, I'd love to be reading stuff right now, but I can't read anything that you've sent me.
Yeah, paywalls can be a problem with this stuff, and
well, if you read the abstract, what's interesting to me is that the abstract doesn't even like seem relevant, which is like really confusing.
What do you mean it doesn't seem relevant?
I've
What do you mean the abstract doesn't seem relevant?
I'll read the abstract so that you can see how it's not relevant. Hold on. The abstract says, a summary is given of the key developments of cosmology in the 20th century from the work of Albert Einstein to the emergence of the generally accepted hot Big Bang model. The success of this model are reviewed, but emphasis is placed on questions. What? I'm reading the paper.
Where are you reading?
This is the abstract.
Of which I sent two. Which?
The second one.
Oh, okay. I got it.
Okay, so the success of this model are reviewed, but emphasis is placed on the questions that the model leaves unanswered. The remainder of this paper describes the inflationary universe model, which provides plausible answers to the number of those questions. It also offers a possible explanation for the origin of essentially all the matter and energy in the observed universe.
How is that not relevant?
Yeah, so I'm looking for the thing in the model that actually predicts the ratios that you describe.
It also offers a possible explanation for the origin of essentially all the matter and energy in the observed universe. That's the relevant part.
Okay, well, I'd like to see the paper. Can you show me in the paper, maybe?
There's Jesus Christ! You can't just go to Google Scholar.
You've already sent me to a different Google. Well, what was it? The I can't remember what you said. IX, what the website was called, but I already checked. Can you actually send me the article, or am I just gonna have to play these stupid games?
I'm working on it right now. I don't know.
I sent you a link to Anna's archive. Anna's archive has all of the academic journal archives combined, and you should be able to look up literally any science paper.
What is it called?
IX, could you post it in the Heathen Hangout for our audience as well?
Yeah, I was trying to find the Heathen Hangout channel, and it disappeared on me. It's called Anna's archive.
It should be just above the Theist Helpline. You might have to.
I see it now. I see it.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Got it. Okay, that is the link right there. And
here's another one. Let's see that one.
Fantastic, thank you.
Yeah, so it's annas-archive.org.
Oh, damn.
And it's extremely valuable. You should have this bookmarked at like the top of your list of science bookmarks, so you can always look up science stuff.
Yeah, I couldn't find it on Anna's archive. Hey, Donald, your other link is also broken in the sense that there's still no PDF. This other link doesn't even have an abstract, by the way. I'll keep looking.
I mean, I'm looking at the PDF right now for my first link. I don't know.
Screenshot it then, because
screenshot. Fuck you. I don't even know how to do that. So
holy shit.
You can. Are you denying that Alan Guth's 1983 paper about inflation exists? Is that what you're doing?
No, I'm just trying to read the fucking article, dude.
Okay. I mean, I'm reading it. It says the new inflationary universe is a scenario in which the mass density of at least a small patch of the early universe becomes dominated by the potential energy of the scalar field. I mean, I'm fucking reading it. I don't know what your problem is.
Duke, that's great. Slum Duke, I appreciate the link. That actually worked. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, that's it. It is 21 pages of some of the coolest science ever done.
That's great. I'm going through this, trying to find the part where it predicts the 3-to-1 ratio.
Are you saying that unless I show you a paper right now that says that inflation predicted a 3-to-1 ratio, you're just not going to accept it? Because inflation is the thing that predicted the 3-to-1 ratio of hydrogen to helium in the universe.
That's not what I said, Donald. That's a bad faith.
Well, it was a question. It was a question.
No, I never.
Not bad faith.
I never said that.
Question for clarity, you're being a dick. Also, I'm done. Yeah. Thank you very much for having me on stage. You guys have a wonderful day.
Donald, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us here.
He's going to leave before actually defending the paper, which, by the way, nowhere in this paper does it describe what Donald is talking about. There's no 3-to-1 ratio at all in this paper. He made all of that up. If he wants, he can come back and say that he didn't make it up, but he just posted a random fucking article. That's what
that's what he will say if he comes back. I know that. But okay, I guess the interaction between two of you is over at this point.
Prediction of the Big Bang theory.
It's not a controversial thing to say that the Big Bang theory mathematically predicts a 3-to-1 ratio of hydrogen to helium. That's
fine. I just like to see the actual prediction being had, you know.
Well, I think this is beyond the scope of our show for you to do your own research and find the information you need.
Well, that's fine. I just wish that was said.
Like, do you think any god? Do you think any god or goddesses exist?
No.
Yeah, mathematicians like me that way. So appreciate both Donald C. and Mathematician for joining us and trying to slog this out and bringing these different perspectives. The takeaway from this, I think Donald's concern is that Mathematician has been targeting the Big Bang when he thinks that Mathematician should be targeting Lambda. And that's kind of mostly what I got from that, along with a lot of very interesting science articles and whatnot, all of which have been shared with our YouTube audience, by the way. Thank you for sharing all those links, everybody.
God still doesn't exist.
As far as we can tell. Yeah.
If you'd like to come up, please raise your hand.
Anybody have anything else that they want to talk about recently? Or I've got some more links I have to share, so please, anybody have any perspectives to share on what was just discussed?
I was going to say that the Big Bang theory was a good show, but I think it went for a long time.
Like I said earlier, I mean, everybody he's had this conversation with has, I felt like, done a pretty fair job at pointing out how Mathematician is mistaken. And it felt like he was even using motivated reasoning at the tail end there, when that's just like a commonly known prediction of the Big Bang Theory. Now, I can't show him the math for that. I don't know where to even look for that, right? But that's like a common prediction of it. And he's just saying that's not the... What? there's a lot of predictions the Big Bang Theory makes. This is what the science communicators have shared with us, and this is the consensus of the scientists, right?
Yeah. Donald
You're
Steve
not
posted
coming
this.
back up, Mathematician. I'm not debating you on this. I'm just saying none of us are science communicators, and the consensus is Big Bang Theory, right? Now, does anybody in the audience want to come up that has a belief in a god or a goddess or anything like that? We'd love to have a god or supernatural cryptid discussion.
Because I have a way just to, I see that he wants to respond, but I have a way, once again, just to smooth things over. It should be, in my opinion, the atheist having this conversation to begin with. Because I do not think that theism is an actual answer. I do not think that you could propose something that we have never seen before, like a creator working or making natural laws. And
so I have a slight disagreement with you here on this, Amy, and that is that I think it's the scientist who should primarily be discussing it. I don't have a problem with a theist being a scientist or an atheist being a scientist.
So let me both agree with you, but still continue pushing the point. I agree with you.
Okay.
It should be the scientists. I'll tell you what religious people do when they put that lab coat on. They leave their religion, generally, not always, but they leave their religion at the door when they put that lab coat on. Now, but my also larger thing also is things like morality. When we talk about morality, they always push this very weird type of morality, which is I call the subjective objective morality. And that's coming from someone who thinks that it shares both to begin with. But it's always like this guy that is an agent that knows everything eternally, and so somehow it's objective. And so I just, theism, for whatever reason, muddies, in my opinion, many of these topics, when the only way that we should, I think, push forward with them is as skeptics.
And I'll just say, like, with the lab coat thing, it reminds me of a quote from Matt Dillahunty, which would, of course, show an edge case here, which actually seems to be a rather large edge these days. He said, intelligent design is just creationism dressed up in a lab coat. But that detracts from what you're saying.
Oh, no, I absolutely agree. In fact, just to continue, I believe that there are two different jobs of the scientist and the creationist. The scientist's job is to try and make very complex issues as simple as possible. And the creationist's job is to sound as technical as possible so that they can sound smart. And those are just two very different goals.
Indeed, and to get more followers. Yeah.
Yes.
That's their primary business plan, more bums on seats.
Mm-hmm. But that's what they're doing. They're dressing up creationism. They're dressing up, in my opinion, because if you were to ask them, how does a giraffe come to be? Well, there is a complex process through which evolution goes from simple chemicals through single-celled organisms to multicellular organisms, all the way to eventually giraffe. But if you were to ask logistics from, I would believe, a Jewish, Christian, or Muslim fundamentalist creationist, they will say, well, God spoke it into being. If you want better logistics than that, ask God.
Looks like Thomas, the tank engine, is server muted. So I guess I'll unmute you, but please don't. Oh, wait, Otto did it, I guess.
Stop letting this new part speak. I mean,
welcome.
Hey, language.
Welcome, I love God. Thank you for joining us. How are you today?
Very good.
Great. What have you got for us? What's on your mind?
So Amy is definitely a faggot, and I know.
No. Okay, stop. No, stop. Let me handle this. No, it's okay. She is not a cigarette. I can assure you of that. maybe we can have. Did you have something you wanted to talk about? Like, do you believe that a goddess or a god is real, or you have "I love God" in your title, so I assume it's a god.
I have to leave him muted for a certain amount of time.
But can I also just point out, I will send you articles if you like, that homophobia almost always is associated with being gay. Once again, you could be a fundamentalist Christian, Muslim, whatever, and so it's just that your morale system is outdated, and so you believe that. But oftentimes, there has been studies shown that men who very much proclaim to hate other men, like, get this weird tingly sensation down in their groin, and it's weird. The straight men who are completely secure are not turned on by gay porn. It's just weird how that works out.
It sounded like you said "bro claim."
Claim, yes.
But I know you're not. I know you're not a cigarette.
I am not a cigarette. Please don't try to smoke me.
Well, that's too bad. I was hoping to hear that guy's view, but oh well. I guess he didn't have one that was very ready for sharing.
No,
I was gonna say he doesn't have one worthy of listening to.
That could be too, but we don't know that.
It's okay. The therapist will get a lot this week.
I was hoping I could talk with him a bit and get him to talk about his views, but it's how it goes. Sometimes they just leave. Yeah, I wonder why he was server muted. Not by us. Well, did anybody have any news they wanted to share? I'm thinking maybe it's going to be a short show today, probably because there's a lot of people focused on the holiday season coming up with Christmas and New Year and whatnot. And does anybody have any new shows that they're going to be running, or do you have any final thoughts about today's show?
Well, it is the Sunday after Thanksgiving and Black Friday, so I'm sure everybody's busy right now.
Oh, and some people are probably still out shopping because a lot of shops are doing Black Friday for a few more days than just Friday. All right. Anybody have any final thoughts on the show? Mobarak, why don't we start with you? Did you have any thoughts about today's show?
Today's show was interesting. I like the science talk, even though I am not even remotely qualified to understand it. But I like it. It's fun to see it because it's actually based on, okay, here's my source, here's your source, here's my source, here's your source. Let me read my source and stuff like this. It's better than, oh, God said so, or this guy said so. But other than that, my current focus is actually to be able to build somewhat of a community for ex-Muslims from Saudi Arabia and allow them to build friendship and connection among each other, people who live in Saudi Arabia where they are seen as outsiders in the society they live in or outcast. So allow them to connect with each other. That's my goal. And that's the news. We have a growing server here, and we have a growing subreddit that we are allowing people to join in and connect with other atheist ex-Muslims in the same country. So if you're a Saudian ex-Muslim, know that you're not alone.
If Canadian atheists can be helpful in some way, please feel free to reach out to me.
I sure will.
Ix, did you have? Go ahead. You're way ahead of me. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask about Mubarak's Discord server. Is there a name for your community for like sort of Saudi apostate expats?
It's basically the Saudi ex-Muslim community. That's
Saudi ex-Muslim.
Yeah.
That's on Discord.
Yep.
Mobarak, could you set up a permanent link for that if you haven't already, and send that to me in a private message so I can include it on the Theist Helpline website for you?
I sure will.
I don't need it this minute, but I'll put it up sometime later today. IX, go ahead. What are your final thoughts for today?
Yeah, I think it was good that people got to hear how a disagreement goes between people who have sources to cite and predictions to calculate and show whether one theory or another is more likely true. It's great to have these conversations. And that's sort of what we're trying to do when we engage with people's religious ideas in a skeptical manner, right? We're trying to take the very best ways of figuring out what's true or not and to apply them to questions that, although some people think they should be sort of forever agnostic about these questions because you can't absolutely prove that something that you can't observe doesn't exist. It seems like there's lots of pretty good ways to reason about things, even imaginary things, about whether or not they're imaginary. And that's what we try to do when we bring in different methods of epistemology from the traditions of the sciences. And, you know, let this be a year of exploration for you who's listening to this in, what can you learn about to improve your own epistemology, to improve your conversations with other people. And I would say a good starting point would be the street epistemology community. If you're like dreading having these types of conversations over Christmas or whatever when you get together with some of your religious family, the street epistemology Discord server and the community that exists around street epistemology on YouTube and so on is a great source of inspiration for how to have critical conversations where you're not attacking somebody and how to have them in a civil manner so that people will want to talk to you more than once. Because like I said, these things don't change people's opinions overnight. They typically get a question like we had today with the science stuff where you go, okay, I'll read that paper. Okay, I'll look more into this thing, or okay, I'll watch the video. And then you talk to them again a second, a third, a fourth time. And it's over time that people consider matters deeply and eventually change their minds. So let's hope that everyone can have a good new year and an opportunity to get better at having difficult conversations and figure out what's true.
Thank you very much. I do see we have somebody in the audience, and we do have time, so shall we bring him up?
Sure.
Yeah.
Hello, Gluecose Guardian. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. How are you today? We're going to interrupt our final thoughts and hear what you have to say.
Hi, Randolph Richardson. Good to see you again. Hello, everybody else.
Hey,
I'll keep this quick.
I know you.
Yeah. Well, I'll keep this quick. I was an atheist my entire life. Never, but I was recently challenged about a year ago by a theist to say, imagine, can you find a way to believe in God? And that's what I did. I sat under the shade of a baobab tree. I sat there, contemplating, imagining a God that even I could believe in. And by golly, I think I did it.
I feel a punchline coming on.
I think you should have used a maple tree. You may have gotten different results.
Or perhaps there was literally no shade under that baobab tree. But here it is. I looked at all my paltry knowledge of science, the life, the universe. I mixed in concepts such as the heat death of the universe with life's purpose, and I came up with an idea. The idea is that the God with the power level of the biblical God, Yahweh, is actually possible. As humanity, or not humanity, but life advances in the universe, and as life begins to control more of matter and energy, it will begin to have the same functions and capabilities over reality, time and space, as the biblical God, and perhaps that God, right? That intelligent entity, we'll call it, technological entity, would extend its tendrils into time to make it come about faster. Otherwise, it will not have time to contend against the heat death of the universe.
So he is omnichronological as well. And in order to do all of that competently, would you say that he needs to be omniscient as well, like all-knowing?
Well, omniscient as in all-knowing of the realities of science, but not perhaps all-knowing of every minute event that has ever occurred. Like, he will not know at what time you brushed your teeth this morning, but he will know, and I just use he, colloquially, he will know that teeth must be brushed at some point. That's the limit of his knowledge, I think.
So there's a limit.
Like a nuclear physicist is aware that fission is going to occur at a certain rate in a critical mass, right? But a physicist is not going to know exactly which atom is going to be the first to release its neutrons.
So he would you say he has perfect knowledge of what's going to happen in the future?
I think that this being will have the ability to extrapolate based on the laws of physics what will happen.
And he'd be absolutely right with his predictions then.
I think that the end result will be factored into his original predictions. Like the prediction will not be like. Yeah, go ahead.
Where I'm going with this, like he knows that tomorrow we're going to have rainy weather in my neighborhood, for example. He would know that, right?
That would be pretty easy. I mean, we can approximate such a feat today, right?
Yeah.
Ourselves.
So he knows absolutely that's going to happen. He could not be wrong about that. Is that right?
This God would not be wrong about that because his data set is so huge.
Well, in that case, he can't be omnipotent at the same time, because with his omnipotence, he'd be able to change the weather tomorrow to snow or sunshine, and therefore invalidate his omniscience.
You're right about that. I mean, what I'm envisioning is once that God gets the power of God, he is literally made up of all the energies and matter of the universe.
Sure, but what I'm trying to point out here is that this is a paradox with the biblical God, that he's omniscient and omnipotent, because he can actually invalidate that. If he truly was omniscient and omnipotent without error there, then he should be able to do both, which is illogical. Both contradicted and not contradicted.
After you respond, I want to push back on some of these.
Sure.
Okay. My response to that is you know, my conceit of my little idea here is that, you know, I give a lot of leeway to Bronze Age humans in you know, making mistakes, right?
Okay, what about people today? Do we make like I had a sign on my desk when I did IT help desk work. It said everybody makes mistakes. Now that was intentional, but do you think that people today make mistakes similar to some of the mistakes Bronze Age people made?
You know, I think the majority of humans today are no better than the Bronze Age people in the past. I mean, there's the people like you and the esteemed folks on stage here, and perhaps myself. But, you know, we're advanced, but the vast majority of humanity, stick them in the woods, and what's the difference?
Oh no, I still experience the effects of pareidolia. So I think there's a lot of truth to the similarities carrying forward from our past, from our ancestors. But okay, I don't like to think I'm more intelligent than anybody, especially being a natural blonde. It'd be a pretty tough argument for me to make. But seriously though, it's like people change, and I think we adapt to our environment quite a lot. So if our environment includes knowing how to operate a light switch so that we can get lights on in our room, we'll do that, whereas a person from the Bronze Age has no concept of electricity or lights or light switches. When they see a light switch, they'll have no idea what that is, but they'll be just as capable of learning that pushing that light switch on and off will control the lights, just like we do today. So this is similar, but it's just we have different environment now, so we see things differently. What do you think of that? Do you think that's a fair assessment?
I think it's completely fair, and this is why when I look back at the criteria for God as per the biblical sources, I sort of take the spirit of it, but I don't think they know what they're talking about.
Yeah, I think for the time they probably had perspectives that informed their writing, which doesn't apply today. It's quite different. Like I have a big problem with people from ancient times dictating how we live our lives today. That to me I find offensive and unrealistic way to live my life. And then I'll let you respond. Then Amy's got some questions for you.
Okay, I've taken time. Amy, go ahead, please.
Oh, no, first, I'd like to hear your response to what I just said about what I found offensive about ancient people's ideals being imposed on us today.
Oh, I agree. That's silly. I think the Bible needs to be updated, and based on my knowledge, my idea of this new God, it should be updated by me. I should be the one.
This is a new God
version of the Bible.
Did you? Yeah. Why is it a god and not a goddess? I'm curious.
Because I'm a guy, I'm sexist.
Okay, I'm a guy too. I'd prefer it to be a goddess, but okay. Anyway, Amy's got some pushback for you.
Well, no, I mean, that couldn't have been a better setup. That's just what's wrong with religion. It's just basically like, well, but I just want my ideals to be the ones that are true. And so it's got to be me, and I'm the prophet. And that's religion.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but let's look at it though. I mean, the last prophet, his main message, the last prophet being Muhammad, I think, right? I'm not going to count
Or
Joseph Smith, right?
Well,
yeah, I'm not going to count him. He's a fucking liar. But
sure,
like,
but I mean, they could have all been liars, but sure.
You're right. But half his stack of gold plates were just melded, were just one piece, right? They're not even sheets, with the words on them. He's a liar. But anyway, Muhammad, his great contribution to this thing called, Judeo-Christian, whatever, that's Abrahamic religion, is fidelity. Him and his followers taught that every one of his followers need to be extremely dogmatic, right? And that ensures the survival of the religion in its original form. They're like hard drives. These people, they even rock back and forth like the hard drive head. Ever watch them praying in the fucking mosque?
Very specifically, they're about oral. So just like the Jews, they just were through oral transfer, and then eventually, after they died, he wrote it down.
Right.
Yeah,
but
I got a quick response. There's zero Muslim group today that actually practice Islam like Muhammad taught it. Zero.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong then. It's not Muhammad, but the guy after him was extremely concerned with fidelity. Right. So again, like the hard drive head rocking back and forth. They got all their people in the mosque.
I know what you're meaning, that fundamentalism or the focus on the fundamentalist of religion is keeping it alive. But the truth of the matter is that even what we call today a fundamentalist Islam is actually an invention of the Middle Ages, sometime in the post of the like 1200.
Right, you're right. You're right. So I'm giving a very generalization, but I'm telling you the difference between what we see in Islam today versus Christianity. Christianity is all about you make your own rules, do what you want. It's very Western, right? Individualism.
No.
You want to break down on the ground, shaking and shucking and jiving like a fucking broken toaster. Go ahead. That's called Pentecostalism.
I would say that's a modern New Age view.
I know. Let me finish this thing. Okay, but let me finish. I mean, if you want to whip yourself, there's one for you too. Catholicism. Right? There's plenty of flavors to suit your needs, but in Islam, you got a couple of them. It's not that many. I think that's a feature that my updated version of the Bible should have, like more fidelity. But I think the more important thing, the biggest difference between my Bible and all the older, less good ones, is that my Bible should have more information about what humans' purpose are. We are life forms in this universe, and if we need to bring upon this God of ours, we need some rules. We need to respect truth. We need to denounce untruths. We need to make sure the information sphere that we're building, called the internet and everything like that, needs to be pristine so that our God will have good information. Randolph Richardson, I know you're a computer guy. Garbage in, garbage out. Am I right, my friend?
I'm sorry, I'm still not done my points, because this just sounds like the building of a cult. I know, Randolph, respond, but holy moly, do I have to push back on almost all of this.
Go ahead and respond for me. I think there's a mixture of garbage and good stuff, probably in a lot of religious texts.
But yeah, let's start with prophets don't exist. I think that's a good one. Let's start with there are no prophets of God, and then you're trying to build this type of God, but it just ends up being like, well, it's going to be my morality, and it's going to be I'm the version of God, and I'm the prophet, and it just ends up being very human. It doesn't sound godly. It sounds like what humans have been doing forever. And so I am trying to understand, like, there's no, first of all, we can't go back in time. As if time works the way that we think that it does, then let's just remove the way Christians can't, their God doesn't exist, because there's no God that operates through that type of time sphere. So the Abrahamic religion's gone. But we could think of other gods, maybe.
Let me just quickly respond to that. First of all,
Sure.
when you say prophets don't exist, let me remind you, the Vatican is one of the wealthiest organizations on this planet. Prophets,
sure. But you know
prophets
what a
exist in
cult
abundance, my
is?
friend.
Just because they call themselves a prophet doesn't mean that they don't do anything. In fact, my favorite quote is "Prophets make profits."
Okay, I think I think we're both in the same joke at the moment, so I'm just going to step out of it.
Okay.
And now I'm going to also say another thing. Like we're all atheists deep down, right? Even not Fox down there who pretends to be a religious person.
Everyone knows no gods exist.
Yeah, exactly. Hence
Okay,
why,
hang on. I gotta stop. Hang on, just a sec. Not
Yeah.
Fox is a Christian, as far as I know.
No.
We don't go and tell people that they're not religious when they very clearly say they are. We don't do that on this show.
He knows no gods exist, Randolph.
No. I'm serious. On this show, we do have this kind of decorum, though.
Yeah. Okay, I apologize. I apologize to not Fox. I shouldn't.
No problem.
I shouldn't
No problem.
cast aspersions to people like that. I apologize. Now back to the thing. I mean, all religions are somewhat human. I'm trying to put a modern scientific perspective on the Bible, and I think that the Ten Commandments
kind of L. Ron Hubbard kind of spin.
Well, not really. I mean, their whole thing was to rip you off. My whole purpose, and I'm just being very straightforward. My whole purpose, I'm not trying to take money here. I'm trying to create an environment that the new God that we will create eventually in the eons ahead of us will have the right information to grow. And we live in a world of lies today. And I think truth is by far the only commandment that we must hold above all others.
But why can't you just value truth? Let's just forget about gods. We want to go forward, and we want to say, as a society, we value truth.
Because the answer is, I said this earlier to Randolph, what's the difference between the average person and a Bronze Age person? Not much. Not much. They watch the sports, they go camping. They're the same people. We're the same genetic people. The human being is so primitive that only a few outliers can accept atheism on the face of it.
That's
I kind of want to know more about the ancient. I kind of want to know more about the ancient people's sports. But go ahead, Amy.
No, but we do know more. I get it. I am under the philosophy that not a lot changes throughout times, that we make the same mistakes and stuff. But the difference, we know that the Earth goes around the sun. That was a big one back then.
I think it's also fair to point out that we're social creatures. And so our capabilities should be evaluated in terms of what our group enables us to do. If you were to say, what's the difference between an infantryman in a tunnel versus an infantryman in an elite US military division, part of the difference between the two isn't how big their muscles are, how much they can carry in a backpack, or any of that stuff, or how resolved they are to fight. It's that one of them has close air support, one of them has NATO doctrine, etc. So the force maximizing that an individual person's nature gets from the massive sort of collaborative experiment that is science, and the massive collaborative experiment that is our best theories today, is part of what sets us apart in terms of our ability to evaluate truth. We're not equipped to understand all the specialties which we draw from, but we do have an apparatus to benefit from the opinions and information of the best theories and the best scientists of our day. So it doesn't really seem like the sort of joking that oh, we're not that different, how are we any better off?
Yeah,
the difference
you're completely
is
right.
Entirely
you're completely right,
capable
Nero. Sorry, I'm just saying you're completely right, numero nuevo. What's really true is we're only as good as the technology around us. Governance being one, and religion is a technology. It's a way to communicate very complex instructions in very simple ways, and some of us need it, right? So that's why I'm advocating for a patch to this operating system of religion that so many of us still have to use, unfortunately.
It'll be Holy Bible 3.0.
Yeah. Well,
just Evidism.
Yeah, why should we if we know better, if we're the atheists and we know better, right? We really need to
The
get
religion of evidism, I'm saying.
Wait a sec. Do we know better? That's something I question myself here. And once you're done here, we'll move on to Wise 8. But yeah, do you have some more you wanted to add to this?
No, that's all. I'm taking my time. Thank you, guys.
Hey, it's good to have you up, man. Thanks for joining us again.
Good to see you guys.
And I just
Take
wanted to
care.
add, Gluecose.
Oh,
I
wait.
felt bad because it sounded like at one point you said don't let we're in on the same joke. It sounded like you kind of knew that these are a lot of religion is money making organizations that just want to feed off people's hopes and dreams. All
That's my
I'm
thesis.
saying is that there's healthier way. I understand what you're doing. You went, you sat, you philosophized, you tried to think of this God. I think many a smart person has tried to do that. I unfortunately think the better answer is that we don't need religion, just like we don't need alchemy. We now have chemistry. I think we have better secular versions of doing what you're saying. So I don't disagree with some of your underlying principles that you're trying to put forward. I guess it's just the execution, as we have seen throughout all of history, has been devastating. Lots of, to keep the pun, the execution has been executions. But it has been a good conversation.
Thank you. Good to talk to you, folks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wise 8, good to see you here. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. What's on your mind?
Well, thank you. I just want to continue polishing this gem we're developing, right? And I think what that is the technology. So the God and the religion, right? I heard it said it's a form of technology, and the previous speaker was talking about updating the Bible, right? And I agree with that. We need a total rewrite. New characters, right? We shouldn't be using gods or Yahwehs, but instead focusing on this technology. And ultimately, who can reject what I'm about to say? What we want is support, right? And adaptable support. So, like, let's take clothing as an analogy. If it's a hot climate, you might want to wear a little less, right? If it's very cold, you know you're going to want those insulative layers. To get into the weeds a little bit, right? The God of Genesis gave Adam and Eve cloaks of skin when they were to leave the garden, right? It's not like optional for any of us to be like, I don't want supported. I don't want any clothing. I mean, because if you're in Alaska, right, and you're going to turn into an icicle, right? And if people are seeking to, get out of the game of life, then right, you don't need any support to do that. But if you want to remain in the living, right, in the realm of the living, you're going to be it's required to have some sort of support. So I think the thing we need to develop is the technology to do that. How do you do that for individuals? Well, the technology that's here and being developed now is very much individualistic and customizable, right? We have cell phones and internet on our person, right? And their capabilities are getting better to aid us in support. So I almost see the future as individuals being in cocoons that are adaptable, right, to the conditions or the specializations that they want to, engage in, right? So you might want a little less clothing here, a little more clothing there, just for an example. And you can extrapolate that to all aspects of life. So I think that's what we should be developing or focusing on when we talk about like revising the Bible or updating it. It's almost, it needs a complete overhaul, right? We need to drop certain characters and adopt new ones.
Well, if I could just say, I agree with you that we need support. I would say what we need is not just to throw away religion. What we need to do is throw away religion and offer alternatives. There has to be ways for people who have addictions to have clinics that they could go to. They're the same with people who are depressed, the same with people who are just looking for friends or people to hang out with in a community. We have to build secular uh, alternatives to those. And I also think we have already made alternatives to gods. I wanted to say this as well. I think that's what superheroes really end up being, is they are these people that are like us, but they have different powers. And I think that's how we often express it in the modern time. But I think that story-wise, we should continue to work on ways in which the human condition expresses itself and find ways to express itself on media. All of that is important. It is part of who we are with humans, and we're just trying to figure out how to do that as skeptics.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And if I can continue just a little bit more,
sure.
Just as if this God isn't a one size fits all, like that's what we're determining. And I like the comment, if you how the old religions, if you like to scream and run around, there's something for you, and that's that whole sort of thing. Well, that's getting into the weeds a little bit, but so the God isn't a one size fits all. And I think human relationships aren't either, right? I think
sure.
So traditionally, you get married and you rely on one another, right? And sometimes that partnership falls apart or breaks apart. And maybe the relationship in a lot of cases was formed out of necessity anyway. But I think with the technologies that enable individuals to be supported, the future could be a lot different, where the relationship between our partners are different, and our children, right? A lot of children currently, they just rely on the support of their community and parents, and are failed by that support system in a lot of ways, right? Certain traumas develop because of specific personal, to their case, whatever's going on. But if somebody could have this baseline technology that can support adults, children, equally, right, and customized, then it's going to be a good thing. Because I think, like, wow, the situation is very vast, right, for a lot of people. But there are commonalities, and we can imagine husbands being abused by their wives, or wives being abused by their husbands, and just the way the relationships are woven together. That's what the religions try to do. They try to put the God into the relationship. So that technology was, the theist is already trying to interject it into the family, right? But it's this one size fits all technology that doesn't work. Doesn't work consistently across the board. But I think we can develop something that does.
And
right?
if I could say, I would like for whatever you call it, liberal secularism, I would like us to not exactly reclaim, but talk as much about family, because it is one of the most important aspects of being a human, which is developing relationships and ultimately connecting each other and building families. It is something that religion has done. I think that they do it, unfortunately, from fiat, and they do have a very one-size-fits-all, which is to say, man, woman, blah, 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 blah. And I think that there's nothing wrong with that model. We should embrace that model. We should embrace consent, all consenting adults. I believe both very strongly in both blood family, family that we inherited, but also found family. So a mixture of both of those, I think, is what makes a community. And if we embrace both those who are born to us and those that we find, I think that we'll be better off. But let's reclaim it. We should. Family is something that is part of to keep on harping on it, part of the human condition. We need alternatives to their type of talking points within fundamentalism, and we should be celebrating it.
So we have some comments from our YouTube audience. Geo Sam says, "Believe my personal revelations and give me money." He's making fun of it. Sydney Raptor then commented, "I'd rather effort was devoted to continuing the Stargate Universe series." And then Nanology says, "They've been revising and cherry-picking the Bible from the start."
Yes, they have been. If they like it, then that is what God said. Listen, there are 10 commandments, and we must obey them. And if they don't, like maybe taking slaves from the nations around you, well, that was the Old Testament. I don't know if you knew that.
If you like, I could go on, but I don't know if you want to hear any more. But I could share a little bit more of my thoughts on the matter.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So, to get more into detail, like let's just take a husband and wife. You know, that scenario there. I think inherently there's a abuse built into that system. Like, and I know there's a lot of different ways to be married. Some people say, well, it's a complete equal partnership, right? But then others say, well, that the man is the head of the household, right? He's the leader. So I think like abuse is baked in to some of these contracts, and so if we could build a different technology that supports the individual, then the abuse isn't there. So like if the wife is saying, well, I need you to lead, I need you to be more of a leader, and the husband's like, I can't, I need supported in a different way, then that relationship falls apart. And you know, there's numerous examples on
we do need to be careful of not over relying on technology, though, which people have a tendency to do. Like having the technical tools to help is very important. It's one of the reasons, like technical tools include machinery for building things more efficiently and more consistently, and we've got computer systems that help us communicate better with the internet and all this kind of stuff, and on it goes. There's tons of things. And then there's medical technology, vaccines that are helping people not get diseases that they would otherwise get. So the preventive medicine, for example, and all kinds of things, better understanding of how the body works so that we can live higher quality life and for longer periods, all these kind of things. What happens in like the email spam communities, like I don't like calling them communities, but they're kind of developing that way. I'm part of the anti-spam groups since the early 1990s, and I regularly contribute to lists of spam sources and things like that to help combat the problem. There's many of us who do this. Anyway, there are, once in a while, we see people come along and think that they propose some kind of technical solution to our community, and they think would stop the spam, but there's always some kind of problem with it, and the underlying problem that exists with every single one of them is that the human factor, because these are social problems. Spam is a social problem, And technology can help curb it, but it can't solve it. And that's the thing. So if we can make sure that we don't lose sight of the fact that technology is not going to be able to solve all social problems, or at least not be able to solve them completely, then I think that's good. We need to be self-reliant is, I think, one of the most important underlying things we need to encourage on this. What do you think of this, Wise Ape?
Yes, self-reliance. That's why I'm saying, like, building tools that would either make us like pseudo self-reliant or capable, or just I don't know what self-reliant truly means, right? Because you can't be in Alaska without thermo-insulated layers, right? You can't just be a self. You need support.
I would say, in essence, like at least not being entirely reliant on the technology. Like we can definitely rely on the technology to be in those extreme environments for sure. That's important, but it's important also that we don't lose the understanding that we also have to kind of be able to take care of ourselves without always having that security blanket to hold on to. We need to let go of the security blanket sometimes.
Yeah, well, let's take, for example, I'm just going to use some like some traditional tropes or practices, like, because this may seem like, all right, you don't subscribe to this, or some secular person might say, well, I view relationships in a different way. But like, let's say the view is the wife seeks her husband's protection, right? and so he's going to rely on tools like strength, right? Maybe firearms, maybe security cameras. But if he's deficient in some of these areas, he's going to say, or be in the position where he can't meet her needs. He can't protect her. Hey, sorry, wife, I don't have a firearm, right? And so now she was in this situation dependent on a service that her partner can no longer provide. So she may feel at a disadvantage and walk away, right? Dismantle the relationship. So I'm saying, like, if we develop technologies where that wife is not coming to an individual person to meet her needs, now she has the cocoon around her, the protection, right?
Can I
through
pause
the
you, Isaac?
Yep.
Because you're using technology and it's causing a miscommunication in that when you mean technology, you're really meaning a social support network. That is what you're saying. Because Randolph was looking at it, in my opinion, get me this wrong. He when you say technology, he's imagining you saying going into a lab and us creating something to fix this. But it's not that we're going into a lab with engineers trying to build something to fix this. It's that we are trying to allow different levels of emotional support from men, which isn't exactly always accepted in this country. In fact, it's oftentimes looked down upon, but we should hopefully try and switch that and be more open as a society.
I agree.
Well, no, I'm not trying to say that the technology is the way we socially interact. So it's contingent on humans. But I am talking about supporting the way we socially interact through technology, kind of like ChatGPT or some sort of advanced AI.
Oh, you do mean technology. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. This is like a cyborg, human technology mesh, right? It's and it's
I was
it
just
takes a
going to
little.
recommend femdoms, but I guess we're going in a different direction.
Are they supportive, or is it going the other way around? It's a little unclear there.
Yeah, I'm very supportive.
So, like, let's say like let's take the traditional wife example. Like she relies on her husband for an income. Well, now with this technology that's developed, she has, everybody has $10 million, right? So you would form the bonds and the relationship with people based on not what you need out of them, but rather just because you enjoy their company or whatever. I'm advocating on not relying on anybody, any individual, right, to fulfill a role in your life, in one's life. And I think we can build the technology can be developed to further to do this, because it's that concept is already here. Like if you have clothing, if you have a wardrobe, that's meant for you, right? The individual, you wear that clothing. But same way with food, you eat that food, right? Everything is meant for the to support individual to support individuals. It's just that currently we have to go to outside sources that ultimately rely on institutions and humans that that fail individuals often, right? It's not because it's maybe a one size fits all solution that they're offering. Like, well, I'll love you, but you, in order for me to love you, you kind of have to be this way, right? And that person can't, like, you have to fall in these parameters, and maybe this person is constructed in a way that they really can't conform to those to the requirements to receive the love. So then they spend the rest of their life unloved, right? Where a technology could really adapt and customize itself to.
Can I ask a completely different question now? Are you asking about synthetic mates?
No, not entirely. I'm looking at this technology, and the best way I could maybe provide an analogy is just like a wardrobe that does stuff for you. Like it will adjust whether how many layers you should be wearing, right, depending on circumstances or climates. And this could cover, the wardrobe could cover all aspects of our lives. So I'm not articulating that well, but I'm saying like it's a wardrobe for every category of life, and I think we can develop a technology, a wardrobe for every aspect of life. So it could be love, it could be sexual, it could be nutritional, it could be health, right? Could be educational. So I think technology really, with the way AI is, it's a new material that we can construct new wardrobes that were never possible. These wardrobes were always met by humans in the past, right? Like if you wanted educated, you went to an instructor or a teacher, right? It was and there's always problems with that. Once in a while people really get lucky and there's a perfect match in their mate or their professor, right? But oftentimes not.
Well, thank you, Wise Ape. That was you've put a lot of deep thought into this. Appreciate you sharing all this. This is a lot to think about. There's a lot to think about.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not advocating for robots that we can have sex with. Like, I'm not saying, like, let's get rid of our interactions with one another. I'm advocating for technologies that support the individual, that would actually make us want to come together more and be around more individuals, because people are just in a better place in their lives, right? We're going to want to, there's going to be less suffering on individual levels, because people will be more, what's the word for, in a state of...
Empathetic?
Well, no, people will be in a state of well-being, where right now in the world, when you run into somebody, you don't know if they're in a state of well-being. They could be in a state of depression, or just not the best, right? The best version of themselves. They could be really struggling. Where I'm just advocating for a world where people are in good states, because they have this technology that has addressed the things that they need addressed, and now they're in a better position to mingle with others, right? To be with others. So I don't view, like, if we developed this technology that does this, that it would isolate us and tear us apart. I think it would just bring us, everybody, together more. It would be like more cohesion, right? But yeah, that's all I'll say. I thank you guys that, thanks, Randolph, that it was sort of received well, and it's just food for thought. That's all.
Oh, that's good. The free exchange of ideas is something that I think everybody here is in favor of. So this is great that we got to cover a lot of interesting topics today, and yours just added so perfectly to this mixture. Thank you.
Thank you for the conversation, YC.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. I'm glad it was received well, and I hope it can, food for thought. I hope it can grow in ways that would be beneficial for everybody. Because it's going to take it's going to take others to sort of build this, technology, right? I'm just thinking about it. That's all.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, we have another person who's joining us here. Greyism, thank you for joining us. Welcome. How are you today, and what's on your mind? We can't hear you, Greyism. Is your microphone? You're working on it. I see. Your volume is probably down way too low for your microphone, because it's showing indication that you're making some sounds, but we're not hearing anything. Well, it seems that Greyism is encountering some technology problems. Maybe, Greyism, if you exit Discord completely and then load it up again and come back, we'll wait a few moments for you. And that might clear it up. That does for some people. Like completely shutting down Discord. Oh, we'll try bringing him up again here. These audio problems plague us all, unfortunately. Yeah, you might try completely exiting Discord, closing it completely, and then try logging back in. I can hear
a noise there now, though.
Sorry?
There's a noise there. I think it's working.
Well, yeah, but there's for some reason we're not hearing anything. Is there a volume control on your microphone?
That might have been on you.
Physical volume control on your microphone, maybe? What a shame. I'd love to hear what Greyism has to say. Okay, maybe they're just exiting Discord for a moment. Yeah, there's a lot there. I know that the Japan has been particularly working on robots, androids, trying to there's some people there who are trying to make them provide intimate relationships with people, and there's even a few people in Japan who go out and get married to these things. It's a very different culture there, that's for sure.
Well, and we'll continue to get better AI systems, even, them being new right now. There's a lot of potential. I think they're going to be one of the best tools that we have ever had. It may end up, unfortunately, for better or for worse, taking out a bunch of jobs. We're fearing the end of the world, but it may just be an end of a bunch of sectors that they end up doing better than we do. But hopefully, humanity will react and come in with different ways that we can offset that, and we'll adjust.
See, the short-term view, there'll be a lot of worry and concern about these things, but in the long range, we look at what's happened as different. There were different advancements in different industries, and as soon as there's automation coming up in automotive plants and whatnot, people were so worried that they're going to lose a lot of jobs, and there's nobody going to be able to find work anymore because they figured, oh, they'll automate all industries. But then what ends up happening is you end up having different jobs. You need to still hire people to maintain those machines and keep them running. And similar stuff's happening with this AI stuff. We're now coming up to a limit where it's, in order to make a minor amount of advancement now, they need a hugely greater amount of power to do it. So the advancements aren't so impressive anymore because it's exponential, the power requirements. So it becomes more unrealistic. And then there's still the problem with the black box with AI, the black box issue. So that we don't know, it doesn't show its work. At least we don't know it's doing it accurately when it says it is and things like that. So go ahead.
I wouldn't interpret the sort of diminishing returns of approaching like a perfected LLM as being evidence that progress can't be made further than that. It's a little bit like Moore's Law, where Moore's Law predicted there'd be like rapid geometric improvements. We took those as far as physics will allow, and we're a certain number of generations away from not being able to take it any further in the direct linear scaling power law that Moore's Law was about. However, what we did a long time ago was just parallelize. So instead of having one processor that gets geometrically better, we just build the processors in parallel, and that's what GPUs and AI compute is largely based off of, is lots and lots of like hundreds of parallel units. Similarly, with the case of LLMs, what they do is not a complete approximation of human intelligence. It only imitates a certain amount of human intelligence. And what people are doing to bring LLM type technology into a more human-like behavior is they're doing what are called genteel frameworks. And a genteel framework is something where you're creating an agent. In other words, a thing that has autonomous, goal-driven behavior that can, of its own accord, without a user interacting with it, pursue a goal over time and make progress towards such a goal. And so what people do is they connect the LLM, which by itself is just a crystallization of human language patterns, but they connect it to a lot of tools which are connected to the outside world that allows the agent to interact, like the ability to interact with the website or to operate other like real world investigation and interaction tools. And the LLM is doing just part of the job. The LLM is doing like, reasoning and sort of thinking like behaviors. But there's lots of stuff that's doing now that are not encompassed by what an LLM does, that are connected to it in a novel way, which is very promising. And so it's very likely that these like pseudo agents in the next couple of years make huge gains in terms of what they can do that have nothing to do with the LLMs geometrically improving by themselves, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you. We had somebody join us for a moment, but I guess they're having audio issues too. Yeah. I think maybe we'll just continue with these final thoughts now. Amy, did you have some final thoughts about today's show?
Sure. I actually have written down, and I forgot to make mention that continues to bring up the Socratic method and why it's such a good methodology. And I just couldn't concur more, because often what we do when we debate people is we tell others what our view is, hoping that our view is so strong that it will just, knock them down and override their view. But the reason why the Socratic method is so good is because your point of view gets framed in a question, and then it kind of puts the other person as an active player. They kind of have to respond. They address your view, and yet they're being an active participant in the conversation. And that's why I think it is so well received among the skeptic community and others. So yes, Socratic method, check it out. But it was another great panel, another great show. I want to thank everyone for joining us. Just some quick thoughts, and that is to say that Pascal's wager is not a good wager. It is kind of funny. Randolph brought this up, and I didn't think about it. But gambling, you're not supposed to do in the Bible, so that alone actually should tell you that you shouldn't be having a wager of Pascal. But it's not good because you can't.
That's a good point.
I never even thought of that before today. But you shouldn't make that gamble because it's not a good gamble. First of all, you're assuming you could trick the God, or that that's all he wants is you to just profess it and not actually believe it. But it discounts all of the other gods, all of the other heavens and hells, and everything that you'd have to add into that equation. I do think that we should be nice to theists. I know that, our bread and butter is trying to pick apart to go to, we want them to come to us as they are, explain what they believe and why, and then we'll disagree. And if they feel otherwise, then we're not going to follow them to church, and we're not going to tell them their God is wrong at a funeral. Yes, the Big Bang conversation was interesting, and so was the one about support systems and technology, but I think I will end with this, and that is, ladies and gentlemen, please don't stone gays, just go get stoned with gays. Thank you so much. I want to thank Ix, Randolph, Taco, and Mobarak. Thank you so very much for having me.
Thank you, Amy. I've got some announcement I want to make, but I'm going to about some upcoming events. But Taco, go ahead, and then I want to just find out if IX or Mobarak wanted to add anything. Go ahead, Taco. What are your final thoughts for today's show?
I don't have much. I appreciate everyone being here. Thank you for watching the show.
Great, yeah. Thank you to everybody who's tuning in today. I do have two shows coming up. I've been invited to Skeptic Haven's Let's Talk show. It's a call-in show that'll be December 15th at 1700 hours. That's 5 p.m. on Pacific time. And then again on January 12th, again at 1700 hours. So I'm looking forward to those. I hope everybody has a happy Christmas and a Merry New Year. And IX, Mobarak, we got cut short on our earlier final thoughts. Did you have anything you wanted to add before we close down here?
I already did the shout out to street epistemology, and Amy reiterated it. So yeah, have better conversations with your family this year.
Excellent advice. Mobarak, anything else you want to add?
Happy New Year and Merry Christmas, and have try to have the best conversation with the people around you, no matter what you like. Just try to be nice, be human, try to connect. I don't know, spread happiness. Go out and be multiplied, or whatever it says.
Be fruitful and multiply. Is that what you're thinking? Yeah. By the way, Mobarak did send me a link to his Discord group to support Saudi ex-Muslims, and it is on the Theist Helpline website. If you click on About Us, you can scroll down to Mobarak's profile and see that link there. Our website is theisthelpline.com, and all the information about upcoming episodes is there. Although we haven't decided what we're doing for next year yet. But that's a place to always, if you want to check on what our future schedule is. We should have something closer to the end of the year figured out. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. A special thank you to our sponsors, the Politics Discord, for providing this wonderful stage with the great audience that we have here. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Thank you so much. Also, the organization I run, Canadian Atheists, sponsors by providing the support for the website and things like that. Covering those costs. So again, thank you all of everybody for being here. You can find out more about each of the hosts here, even the ones who aren't here today, who usually do show up. There's various links and whatnot in the About section of that website, www.theisthelpline.com. I hope everybody has a great Christmas and New Year. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you all for tuning in.